The World Championship showed that North American Rainbow Six Siege needed to undergo a major overhaul to survive in the modern era. Now, after 76 games, 11 play days, and 5 weeks, we're seeing the new direction the region is taking to make it in this new age, and all of it comes down to one play day. One more team will qualify for the major in Manchester, and another will call themselves NAL Stage 1 champions. Welcome back to the NAL Playoffs, Day 3. I'm Caliber Jacob Anderson, alongside former world champion Gabriel Laxey-Miralez, the North American savant Jesse J. Chick, and everything, gentlemen, comes down to today.
I mean, yesterday was quite the doozy. We were up till 2 a.m. sending teams to Manchester and then seeing what teams were going to not make Manchester and then come here today to see if they make Manchester.
Yeah, it's the dawn of the final day. We get to send one more team to the first major of the year. Already sending 2 yesterday. Beast Coast and M80 sitting pretty. They just get to play for first place, some prize money, some SI points.
Bragging rights.
Some bragging rights
The crown,
for sure.
the glory, they could steal all of it today.
All important as well, but the first game of the day, a little bit more on the line for sure. We're going to have 2 teams battling out to try to make it to the Manchester Major.
Already had 7 teams qualify just a couple hours ago. It was Furia qualifying. It was Scars early this morning if you're North American. 7 teams have already locked in, but it's that 3rd spot on this grid that will be decided today. Darkzero and Oxygen will be playing for the final playoff qualification spot before having to result to the LCQ spot, which will be decided next week.
I mean, and we also saw Jesse's favorite team of E1. That was the
You're
most
really
important
bullish
one.
on E1.
He loves E1.
Yeah, I mean,
He's an E1 supporter.
They're a hype team in Brazil. They're one of those new young squads that we're seeing on the come up. We had a new Brazilian team just qualified today as well, Furia.
Yeah.
The World Championships will be at the major, so that's good for us all to see. Chance to continue that dynasty that they built up over the last year, and yeah, should be great competition in Manchester.
It's already turning out to be the pillars of every region are being torn down, so to speak. It's not the same teams going already as we've seen, but there's still plenty more teams left to qualify. And on the road to getting to qualification, we wanted to give out some awards. We wanted to highlight a couple of players that so far throughout this stage in the North American League have produced some pretty exceptional results for themselves or have improved a lot from where they started this stage, and no player has been better this stage than the boy wonder himself, Spoit.
I told you, Spoit has played better in this one stage than he did all of last year inside of North America. This looks like the Spoit that won a major all those years back on Rogue. This looks like the Wonder Kid who was supposed to be imported into North America from M80 from the very beginning. He's playing out of his mind as an individual this whole stage, start to finish. Nobody put in the impact that Spoit did this stage, and that's why he's the MVP.
I think the biggest reason, I'll say it, I mean, obviously right there it shows he is the best player in the region, but I think what really excelled him into that position is he saw me hyping up Ashen, and he could not let Ashen run away with that in North America and being from EU, that he had to prove that coming away from EU, he can still do it here in NA, and he is doing it.
The MVP, as we on the desk have voted, is Spoit for Stage 1. Our rookie of the stage had a couple different options available on the table, but the one that we went with, there was really no other competition when you broke down the stats. Diffuser from Beast Coast had one of the best rookie stages we have seen in the North American League in quite some time.
Yeah, and we talked about him yesterday, and he still put up a performance yesterday, and I have no doubt he's going to put up a performance today. But Diffuser, you have to talk about this guy because he was the wild card of the 4 veteran roster. It was curious how that was going to be. Again, they weren't finding success, and they found success, and that also went into Diffuser's place out of helping that team also find success. And that's what you want from a rookie, is to see them constantly excel and to only see what that now goes looking like into the major.
A lot of rookies come in and they've got insane mechanical skill, but Diffuser, what sets him apart from other rookies is his brain. It's his ability to know when to get aggressive and when he needs to hold back. Playing with the team throughout these last couple of weeks, making sure he's really finding impact on specific parts of the map to fill the gaps where he needs to. Diffuser has been a really, really intelligent player, and I think that's why he deserves that rookie of the stage spot.
In a very similar vein, the most improved team of the stage. There were a couple that started in really dire straits, but one of them managed to pull themselves out of the gutter and go from 0 to hero in just a couple of weeks. Beast Coast are our most improved team of Stage 1.
Hey, it's Diffuser again.
There he is. Listen, all of Beast Coast, I mean, from the very first week, week 1, we didn't get to see them play. They had the off day. Week 2, we saw them play, and it was horrendous. It was a really rough showing.
Yeah.
And then week 3, after just taking 1 week to work on themselves, to look at their mistakes, to fix them, they all came together. I think you've got to give so many props to the leader of hot and cold of that team, IGLing and being the captain of that squad, to be able to guide those players. We've heard them talk about it nonstop in interviews. He is the guy alongside the coaching staff that kind of build these strategies, that make the decisions. Everybody else listens to them, and it flows so perfectly. It is incredibly impressive, the turnaround they made from being so far down the standings at the start of the stage.
And we have to give you props. You saw this.
He prophesized
Even if
it. He
they weren't
did.
playing as hot as we wanted them to, or what we didn't think was going to happen, you knew from day 1 that this was going to be the best roster that Beast Coast has ever formed.
I mean, it's great players. You just cannot argue with the reputation that these guys have. You cannot argue with the history that they have as well. Beast Coast, 100% phenomenal roster.
I'm also told that there's a couple of other awards that we didn't select, but we still want to throw up anyway, so let's see what we got. No idea. Best British player.
Sure,
Well, I guess
yeah.
All right.
we're really feeding into the non-NA traditional players on an NA team.
I guess.
Love that.
Really giving the best British player.
We had 3 different British players in this stage, Citizen, Noodle, and Naif, and it was far and away Citizen.
it's
there was no
important- It's,
competition.
it's still important to talk about Citizen. I mean, he's the best British player. He's going to go back to the UK to play in Manchester. I mean, 2 best case scenarios here. But I mean, Citizen has been such a phenomenal piece for this M80 roster, even into the Sonics roster back then. I mean, he's such a pivotal piece.
Best Brazilian player. Okay, all right,
Great.
sure.
Diaz Lucas BR, I mean, this is the guy that's been around North America for a long time now. Kind of crazy. We had a full 5-team Brazilian roster imported to North America, and they'd probably be bottom 5 if we ranked the Brazilians that are playing in the league thus far. And then this one is deserved. There is no French-Canadian player who played better throughout this stage. Undoubtedly, Spirits.
There were only 2
Beard.
Canadians total. It was him and Canadian. We're the only Canucks playing.
And you know, we don't have hard data on this, but I've never seen Troy speak French, so I think that's a great qualifier.
I've actually never seen that either.
No, I would, yeah.
You've been around him a long time. You've never seen him speak French?
I've barely even seen him talk. No, I've definitely seen Troy talk. I've seen him yell. I've seen him scream. So
He can get loud when he needs to,
Oh, absolutely.
but not loud in the French-Canadian competition,
Well,
I'll tell you that.
good job, production, really throwing us for a loop there. But there actually is one more award that we need to give out. If you've noticed, sitting directly to my left, we have had something sitting here for a long time that is the prize to whoever on the couch has produced the best overall prediction percentage throughout the stage. And today, we actually don't even need to go through the rest of the games that we have today in order to crown a definite champion. We've been at this thing for 5 weeks, and now I can officially announce that the winner of the North American League Predictions Champion is Davide Foxe Bucci. And we actually had a second to have him call in and give a little Oscar acceptance speech.
What's going on, everybody? I was told to film this as my acceptance speech, and I want to give a huge shout out to absolutely nobody. I did it all on myself. I actually am very underwhelmed with my performance. I did a lot lower. I looked mortal amongst these humans. You know, I find myself to be the smartest analyst of the 3. No, but seriously, I mean, shout out to the guys, Lax and Jesse, that I worked against. I mean, it was a very fun time. Lax almost, you know, leaped ahead of us. Thank God he had that day where he trolled. So, I mean, everyone was really close. Everything was really close together. And for me personally, I know in the future, I'm going to be a lot smarter with my predictions, usually at the next event or the next season, whatever the case may be. Don't worry. It's going to be a lot harder to catch up to me for the other analysts. So hopefully you guys are ready for more competition. Thank you for Jacob for the belt, and love you guys, NAL. Goodbye.
Has now officially won the North American League Predictions title. None of the guys on the desk are capable of doing it. Fox ran away with it and had a better percentage to a point where we don't even have to play the last couple games.
Why
to
was
figure
he
it
in
out.
the bathroom?
Good question.
Why was he accepting his reward from a hotel bathroom?
why
pretty good
did I
place to
troll
accept
my
it.
last week's prediction?
That was.
I was
that
Why
literally-
did you pick
I was
close?
literally in the lead.
Why did you do
I
that?
picked 3 teams that trolled me.
Why did you do that?
Wildcard trolled me. Los trolled me.
It takes
Oxygen trolled me.
It takes bold raw strength to pick teams that nobody else thought would win.
But I mean, this is the thing. Like, I did have that lead, and I'm glad Fox announced that because I didn't play it safe. I could have played it safe. I didn't play it safe. That's all you guys were doing, has been playing it safe. So realistically, I may not have won the belt, but from the prediction standpoint and playing risky, I won that.
Are you proud of what you've accomplished?
I am.
Fair play. You guys are going to have to wait for the opportunity to actually get this thing again. So you better step it up next time, because Foxay had a real lead and he almost never dropped it the whole stage. So I'm just saying. Do better next time, boys. This championship is going to Foxay. He will get it as of the start of stage 2. You'll be able to see it next. Here's the thing, though. We still have more games that have to be decided, and the guys can still do their predictions. Oxygen and Darkzero is our 3rd place matchup, and the finals, M80 and Beast Coast. It's still a damn good bracket we have to go through today.
Yeah, I mean, you got to feel for Darkzero. They had a doubleheader yesterday. Quite the barn burners for both games. Fell short in that end game due to the simple fact that one team found success on attack.
100%. And I mean, for Darkzero, despite starting back-to-back on defense, not being able to hold it down, there's been some discussions about the advantage of starting on defense. Wasn't enough for Darkzero yesterday. They're going to have another chance, of course, against Oxygen. And then that's it. If you lose that game, LCQ awaits you, and that is a brutal gauntlet.
Let's jump back into this one. Only one more spot for Manchester can be claimed without worrying about the cruel mistress that is the last chance qualifier. Winning today guarantees you a spot in the major, but losing means you have to go through this entire process again with other teams you haven't played in the league, which means that for both teams and the struggles that both of them have faced collectively, today is very much a do or die.
2 different teams as well coming through, with Darkzero attending every single major last year. They are a staple at international events. It would be very odd to see one without them present. And Oxygen, certainly a history of attending international events, not a stranger to the biggest stage, but last year, not a single major appearance from Oxygen. So they're looking to break their cold streak. They're looking to get back in it, but to do it, they'll have to beat one of North America's best.
And that's what's going to be tough is, I mean, you give all this praise and hype to DZ because they deserve it. But then Oxygen, they fell so short. Well, I don't want to say they fell short. They just fell really hard the last stage, and they're at a point where we can possibly see them. But if they lose here, then it's the LCQ, and then you have to battle all the way through that. And then if you don't get there, then you were sitting for X amount of months doing the exact same thing you were doing the entire last year.
Both of these guys played yesterday. One of them played 2 games, and we'll start with them. DZ had a very interesting road, having to play 2 best-of-3s back-to-back. One against LG, where they won 2-0. One against Beast Coast at the very end, where they lost 1-2. A best-of-3 doubleheader is difficult enough as it is, and even if DZ started the day well, it didn't exactly end the way they were hoping.
No, and it didn't. And again, it literally came down to one team finding success on that attack that completely changed the entire scenario of that game. And Border, I mean, I was a little skeptical of it because it really came down to Pamba having that pop-out performance, LG, that we just did not see going into that last game.
Yeah, end of the day yesterday, they were playing late. Now first thing early tomorrow morning, they got to play again. So I hope they've been resting. I hope that they've got their spirits back up and their energy up. They had something good for breakfast, because this is not a team that can afford at this point to let their foot off the gas.
And you clearly see all the wins to losses here. It's you know, it's nothing crazy. The biggest and most important ones is the Beast Coast ones. These are the ones that they needed to win, that they could have just been sitting pretty here, going to Manchester, playing for that first, second place spot there. And now they aren't. They are stuck here going against Oxygen. The nice thing is they did beat Oxygen most recently. They do have tons of film and tons of history against these guys. But again, they can't let up on the gas that they let loose yesterday.
2 games against LG. Both of them were really close. They still eke out a W, but then you play that game against Beast Coast several hours later on the same day, and that just presents its own set of challenges you have to overcome.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I think for Darkzero, obviously, the different players are going to handle those long days differently. Certainly through the first game, they looked quite dominant. It was a 2-0, but they were close games as well. I mean, there were a lot of rounds that certainly would have been stressful for Darkzero against Luminosity. There were certainly moments where LG looked like they had a real chance of taking that series away, especially right at the start, nearly winning that map 1. Took 15 rounds, but Darkzero eventually got it done on the defense. So in the end, DZ, they get that 2-0. They wait through the second series of the day, which takes them some time. They close out the third one without finding too much success. So we're hoping again to see them bounce back, because obviously they are not going to be happy with not qualifying for Manchester.
I mean, we got to see it, though. This is everything else on the table. You're going to leave it on the battlefield here. If you don't show up today, if the team doesn't show up, the players don't show up, you're done.
And what I've done is I've gone and I've made you a little bit of a line graph coming through. There are 2 games, 5 maps that they played yesterday. We see different players, again, adjusting and adapting to the long day of games differently. There's a few standout players I wanted to highlight. These are kills per round, by the way. So the first player is Nave, and I think Nave had what many players would experience throughout a long, brutal day of Siege, and that is a slow decline. Started off great. His best map of the day was map number 1 against Luminosity, but as the night got longer, as the games got tougher, Nave started to slow down. Pambazoo's a player who also maybe got a little bit worse as the day got better, but he had his high highs and his low lows. Really good peaks, especially game 2 against Luminosity. That border match was huge, but he had the worst performance of anybody on Darkzero when you're just looking at kills per rounds later on in that series. And then I wanted to highlight Canadian as well, because while he started off a little bit slow, he started off with some weaker matches, not as many kills against Luminosity when his team needed him the most, when they were struggling against Beast Coast, when the pressure was the highest. That's when we saw Canadian step up, and I think that comes down to Troy Canadian getting better with age, having that experience. As the night goes on, he was able to perform. So out of your leader, that's super important. And if we see Darkzero winning today, I think it's going to largely be due to Canadian stepping up and having that influence on the squad.
It just goes to show none of those guys seemed like they had one standard consistent performance throughout the whole thing. None of them were good the whole time, none of them were bad the whole time, but none of them stayed the same for all 5 maps. And was that because there was a huge 4 to 5 hour gap in between the games they played?
I don't want to say that because a lot of those players have been used to those situations even way back then when you were playing double headers throughout the day, and then even throughout some NAL stages you were playing back-to-back games. So I don't really want to give, any leeway.
Sure.
These players are more than enough skilled, know what it takes. This is Siege. This is Siege in its prime. Like, you need to understand that you need to be performing in all fronts, and all these players have that experience. So I can't really write that off. I just think it was a rough day nonetheless, and Beast Coast capitalized off of them.
Well, their opponents only played 1 series yesterday, but they were unable to make it count where it mattered. Lost against M80 by a 2-1 scoreline. Lots of questions going into that game after losing 3 maps straight to end the round robin, but they played really strong through the first 50% of the series and then fell off a cliff seemingly.
Auction Esports finished top 2 in the group stage, meaning that they were given a promise of you've only got to win a single best of 3 to make it into Manchester. Now's the last chance. There will be the LCQ, but if they want to make it quick and easy through playoffs, this is their opportunity on the side of Auction Esports. As you said, these last couple of games just feels like they've fallen off the gas. Feels like they're making a lot of little mistakes. Their spearheads aren't really getting that ground that they used to be. Auction Esports, with how many losses they've suffered previously, are in big trouble.
Yeah, and we put heavy emphasis on that game of who was going to be running away with those first initial picks. And oddly enough, both sides were getting entry kills evenly, but it was just coming down to who was actually finishing out the round better, and that ended up being M80. And then especially going into that last map, I specifically said whoever was going to let up on the gas here was going to lose, and then we saw a landslide with M80 walking away with it. Now, this is an interesting statistic to look at when you look at Yaga. We haven't talked about Yaga at all this stage. Yaga, during his last stage with Oxygen, he was the #1 rated player. When you look at these stats, there was no question that Yaga was their best performer. Now you're looking at this stage, he is the 3rd lowest rated player. And when you look at this is the last day that you want to avoid LCQ, that you want to make this major. We need to be seeing Yaga step up here. We need to be seeing the spearheads of Newers and Gomez really supporting the front line, and then the back lines of Diaz and Dream. But again, it's really going to come down to Yaga of having this stellar performance that we need him, that we saw back in the stage. I don't want to count the most recent SI because M80 didn't really do well.
Makes sense.
I want to see Yaga perform because we know the performer that he can be, and that alone will boost Oxygen's chance drastically going into this match.
You need to be able to do that to do it for playoffs. You want to do it when you go to Manchester to
Absolutely.
have success there. So now is the time when everybody on both teams seriously needs to step up. And we talked to both of them last night after their losses to get their opinions on what it's like going into this qualification match against one another in our first game of the day.
Our performance today against M80 was good and bad. We started off very good. We won their map, Chalet. We proved to Boo that our Chalet is better than theirs. Something that we struggled a little bit today was keeping the energy. Our energy in the beginning was very, very good. We won first map. Then on Cafe, it was okay. And then when Steph went down. We lost second map. During the third map, we were a bit down. Their energy was a bit low. So I think all we got to do is just to fix the energy and the planning of the round, and I think we'll be fine.
The match versus Beast Coast didn't exactly go the way we anticipated, right? I think with Club being our only map, I feel like we should have won Consulate. We just couldn't attack for anything today, like across the board. And if we had a little bit of those attacks on Consulate, you know, it could have been a 2-0, but you know, we don't talk about the what ifs, right? Defensively, no matter the situation, 5v5s, 44s, 2vx's, 2v5s, 2v4s, whatever it may be, we were just, you know, we flow pretty well. We communicate properly, whereas it just doesn't translate into our attacks.
Against DZ, our first game against him during the stage, it was Consulate. We got worked, 7-1 I think. It was Consulate, we started attack, we couldn't attack for shit, and they were structured, man, it was hard. They don't give you anything, you really gotta work for it every single round. But we learned a lot from that. We kind of know how to get him now, I think.
I mean, as much as I would hope that the playoffs match is very similar to the group stage match, but I don't think it will be. I think OXG would have learned from our match, and you know, it's hard to say because honestly, OXG, you know, if you lose in a series and then you rematch the team, you have the advantage because you lost, you learned. And the other team, oh, you know, if it's still working, you know, it should beat these guys, it'll probably beat them again. So we just gotta, you know, we have to sit and draw up ideas on the unknown, whereas OXG knows what went wrong and how to fix it.
Our goal is to improve every day and obviously make the major, make every single major, make invite, and just win something. I'm tired of it. Me and Gomez and the team, we need something. We need a chip, a major, invite, whatever it is. And we're gonna work hard every single day to achieve that.
My whole philosophy is you learn when you lose, and we learned today, and it's good to learn it now. And hopefully we're kind of a more buttoned up team and show that we can, you know, actually compete at a major and hopefully take it. We gotta get there first.
Lots of learning that basically needs to be done overnight for both DZ and OXG based on those losses from yesterday. They have to enter another best of 3 immediately off the rip in order to qualify, and it felt like both Diaz and Bolo a little bit somber when reflecting on how that series went, but now is the time where things need to turn around because if the last chance qualifier is your only shot left, then things just get significantly harder. Bans are coming in, gentlemen. Map 1 is on the table, and I like this one for Darkzero a lot, I think.
Yeah, feels bad for Oxygen. You kind of have to ban, like, Labs for sure. Cafe feels bad just because obviously Darkzero historically so dominant on it, and that M80 game from Oxygen did not look great the other day. So they've got to go to bank. Historically, one that they have perma-bans. They ran it against Space Station last week of groups and didn't have a great performance. So the first map does worry me a lot for Oxygen. But then we go to Border, a map where Darkzero has played quite a lot just yesterday, and it looked very, very chaotic. I'm sure Oxygen were watching those matches. They're looking to capitalize off that, looking to shut down Pamba and make that a successful map for themselves.
Yeah, I think the Border, which you just touched on, yeah, Oxygen love Border. And now you're going to a Border where you've seen DZ twice play it, and really one time really came off of Pamba's backing, and then you see how their defenses were weak going against Beast Coast. And now you're looking at Consulate. This, again, you know, Bolo reinforced what I said. When you were losing, you usually be the team that can come back into it, and you learn from it. You end up being the team that comes out on top of that situation. So I'm glad he hit that point, even though I've said that, and it seems like every other team ends up still winning regardless of that.
Yeah.
But again, we didn't get to see DZ's attacks. They had such a strong defensive half. Now this is going to be a situation where we might be able to see now they're going to have to be on attacking half, and what we've been seeing is their attacking sides have not been looking great, and that could then easily look like a 6-0 for a defensive half for Oxygen.
Both teams have picked defense on their opponent's map picks. Defense is just the meta for the most part, unless you are so confident in your attacks that you can really get a strong start on that first half. But in this case, OXG start defense on DZ's own pick. I mean, I look at this and immediately think DZ, but when we get to map 2, should we also immediately think OXG? Should both teams realistically win their picks here?
Yes, I think so entirely. I think DZ also is going into this plan, obviously seeing that they just played SSG most recently and lost a 7-3 to them. Yeah. So I have no doubt that DZ has all the prep that they need going into this bank.
Well, Predictions Championship at this point's already spoken for. This thing is going to Foxay, but at least for posterity, if you guys want to try to get your percentage up a little bit more, is everyone just going with DZ across the board here?
I just can't go underneath the 50%. that's all I'm going for at this point.
I get it.
I think Darkzero make the most sense. It's going to come down to Consulate in my mind, and Oxygen's Consulate has just been so bad ever since they started playing Consulate, ever since it came into the pool. So I don't feel good betting on that for that map 3. Maybe they could pull out a 2-0, maybe, but yeah, I think this is a really rough road just looking at the maps for OXG.
Flax.
I'm going to have to go, obviously, with DZ just for that kind of reasoning as well. I don't think that last map is necessarily going to favor Oxygen, but again, when we look at the attack sides of DZ, and if it is a situation where Oxygen is going to start on defense, then we could possibly see a 6-0, and then, you know, then it's a battle of who just has the stronger defense and maybe can get that one attack off.
Well, it certainly looks like the ban phase is a little bit clear-cut from where we stand. If it gets to Consulate, maybe OXG run a bit of a hole, so they need to make sure that they power up against Darkzero, who themselves also need to do the same. Our last spot in Manchester through the playoffs is coming up next, and it's Parker McKay and Niklas Mortensen to take us to bank.
Oh, how I love hearing those words, and oh, how excited, Nick, I am for this matchup as well. Yesterday was a thrilling affair. Both of these games involving these teams went the distance, even if that final map was maybe a bit more lopsided. M80 beat Oxygen in map 3 7-2. Beast Coast defeating DZ 7-3. Both of them getting close, but ultimately not close enough. The desk seems to think Darkzero has the edge with the way that they played yesterday. Do you disagree?
I don't disagree at all, but I do have a worry because Darkzero, they have not been a super consistent team this stage, and especially just looking at yesterday as a sole day for them. It seems like they're a little bit reliant on somebody like Pambasu popping off to have success on some specific maps, Border, for example, the second map here in this best of 3. But I think starting off on Bank is going to favor Darkzero, get into the problem-solving aspect on the attacking side, and of course, setting up problems on defense, something that Darkzero historically has been very good at on both fronts. And for OXG, we gotta look at them how they do on the entries right now. I want to see Newers get active, I want to see them be quicker, because when OXG played yesterday, they were struggling at controlling the pace up against M80. That's where they feel short.
One time that these teams met each other in the regular season, it was played on Consulate. You and I actually casted it, and DZ prevailed 7-1. For those that may not remember the scoreline, Bank was not played by Darkzero during stage 1, so it'll be intriguing to see the way that they go about this. Border obviously played yesterday against Beast Coast, and that was an incredibly chaotic matchup.
Yeah.
It certainly wasn't the result that I had necessarily thought, but the bigger thing for me is not necessarily the immediate result, but the scoreline. Again, it was so dominant for Beast Coast, who, Beast Coast finished first overall in stage 1, and now in the playoffs have an opportunity to finish first. Out of all the teams that are competing in the playoffs, they will be in the next matchup against M80 in roughly about 2 hours or so. Let's get underway with our very first round of Bank. Operator bans are locked in. Nothing really looks that abnormal, with some of the most banned operators in the league being removed for this match.
Yeah, this is super standard, and one thing that we're always critical of is that Darkzero, they will ban Dokkaebi and Asami every single map that they can, and they will never stray off that path. They want to make sure that they get a consistent game of Rainbow Six Siege by always removing those two specific operators from play, and this will be no different here on Bank, because they have again banned Dokkaebi and Asami. And of course, Monty Finware, it's Bank, you're banning those operators. DC though, in very quickly. I said OXG, they struggle, they cannot control the pace. If Pambasu can walk in lobby, just get a kill here, that's DC very early controlling the rounds from the very beginning.
Just made some listen-ins yesterday, and those comms were oftentimes quite chaotic, especially on the side of Darkzero. They've got a lot of chatters on that team.
Oh yeah.
You add somebody like Nate specifically because you want to be able to have somebody make a call, and call does. There's Nafe. Bring up the Twitch drone. There's a Twitch drone kill yesterday. I don't know if you saw that. I was casting Brazil with Gibson yesterday, and the very final kill that sent E1 to the major was at the hands of a Twitch drone. Quite remarkable. I don't think we'll see that this time, though. It is quite likely that the first blow will come towards Yaga, who's playing on that main floor, drops through elevator, back down to the bottom floor bomb site as we hit the halfway point of the round.
It's a very quick start for Pambasu of DC and lobby side, but instead didn't want to risk progressing too far in the building. Rotated top floor, destroys that soft floor, pop the hatch, and now we see OXG, and they're falling off that open area extension. But the timing right now is good for the attack of DC. They got 1 minute 30 seconds to work with, and all they gotta do now is pop the server hatch and attack servers, or simply go for a lobby hatch drop. But looking at the player positions and Canadian inside a dirt tunnel, they very likely will want to go for a server-oriented attack. Tubrau, 3 of those soda canisters in pocket from Newers. None spent yet, so that means that they're gonna try and use it later on in the round, maybe near the bomb site itself for a possible plant deny, or that A hatch deny, perhaps. Same with Bolo, 3 EMPs in pocket. They could deal with that Kite Claw, but they haven't yet. Time could very well be a problem here for DC, and there it is. 2 more soda canisters in pocket. They cannot get this hatch opened up most likely.
Be able to bide so much time. I think you pointed that out correctly. 40 seconds left. Now closing in on 30 seconds. It's dire position. Second wall opened up next to the main door of this bomb site. Pambazu, the leadoff pick onto Newers, traded right back with Gomez playing inside a vault over by Gold. There go the EMPs, Bees as well as Canadian attempting that plant. I don't know if the Nitro Cell was caught by Bolo. It sure looked like it though. Canadian gets the diffuser off before dying to a Nitro Cell. Bolo's job is done. It would have been nice if Troy survived, but I mean, at least you got the objective in your pocket. Easy trailing numbers. Yaga will retake above, all the way above, up to that second floor. Nafe is holding down open area. Yaga now going for a rotate, but they've actually reinforced the hatch. It'll work against him. Now he'll tussle over towards Square. Bolo picking off Gomez. Yaga, a nice kill. Nafe is just waiting. There's no real reason to move a muscle. They'll drop, head towards the diffuser, doubling up. OXG has Dream on the corner. Oh my! They need to now get Diaz onto it as Nafe swings in and gets the last 2 kills. An excellent post-plant for Darkzero. All of these players in the right place at the right time. And DZ takes round number 1.
That really is a team effort from Darkzero, but I don't think the team would matter if it wasn't for one specific player in that round, Pambasu. He dropped the hatch off pace out of nowhere and took down Newers on the Tubarao, which enabled DC to get the hatch opened up and actually go for a bombs that execute. So that 1 kill right here buys DC everything. And you also see the instantaneous reaction from Canadian, just walking that door, getting that diffuser down while Toxic Babes are going, you know, fire from the Goyo as well. And they're just gambling, hey, OXG, they're not gonna know if the planet's going down. And if they do, they're spamming those CMPs that can catch stuff midair. And Canadian, just when the bomb goes down, that's when he dies, but the job is done. They played post-plant and they played smart. Nave hiding open area, then defenders walk past him actually, drop down that hatch, and then playing post-plant from above, while Bolo was on server staircase, just playing very safely on that talkaway position. Very well done, and it seemed very kind of thought out from DC from the very beginning. Sure, I know that they're gonna go for a quick round to begin things with, but then they slowed things down, and there was a 3-2-1, work together, clean cut, execute.
Thanks, sits directly middle of the pack in terms of pick rate in the North America League. And Walker's CCTV down below that first bomb site is not a friendly place for the defenders. Been played 26 times, now 27 technically. It's only been won below 35% of those rounds. That is a tremendously bad number. That means that when it shows up, you got a 2/3 chance of a team actually winning on it on attack. Easy picked this map. Oxygen opted to go on to defense. Open area and CEO both have significantly better numbers. We'll see if Oxygen can turn the ship around after that first round and keep the numbers close. It'll be an open area defense. Second most played bomb site on the map, sitting at almost 60% win rate for the defenders.
It's always a bit awkward playing a basement bomb set against a team like DC who are so good at executing 5 versus 5, because that's how basement bomb set on bank plays out more often than not. So playing open area, for example, is very different. You can roam early, extend out, try and get some kills like DS was there, and buy those early advantages.
A similar position that Pambo was in before. Yaga dies, by the way, and so does Nave. Nave was the hero of the previous round. Dream roaming. Ambazu sees one through the opening created into that teller's wall, looking all the way towards open area. Dream was in archives not too far removed. Open area defense not exactly looking as strong as it did just 30 seconds ago, with OXG down 1 in numbers.
Tricky. Gotta make sure they hold enough map control to slow down the attackers, but also don't overstay your welcome, because all this verticality from above can be tricky to deal with. I haven't seen Canadian just yet in the Ram getting those boogie drones out. He's gotten 1, but 2 more in pocket, of course, to go. And GR just holding down the cutoff rotation here on... Okay. Oh, goodbye, Newers. It's a 1-tip from NGR. But also, Newers, why are you swinging that, right? I mean, okay, they're playing 3-4. They're trying to get down or get back with that man advantage. But now you're in a terrible position because 2 players cannot hold all the entry points towards the bomb side. So now Dream has to get creative. I can try and go for a flank or a kill. 30 seconds to go. But look at this, DC. They have the drone. They got the intel. They heard Dream's position, they get the yellow pings. Will they go for the kill or just simply ignore him?
I mean, at least you're relying on 2 excellent support players. Well, Dream and Gomez, absolutely capable of clutching out a round. There's Dream swinging. He's the last one left as Gomez is pulverizing the bomb site. Canadian with Diffuser, getting it down successfully. And now, all about ensuring Dream does not get back towards the bomb site with great safety. 1 kill to his name, Voltol in. But instead, we'll opt to maybe go over towards Square before thinking otherwise. Now into admin. Chasing these players from DZ. Keep maneuvering around. He'll make some noise this whole time. I'm sure Darkzero are somewhat aware of his whereabouts. Dream firing away. Nice shot on the Canadian. Sidearm out, but oh my. Trying to hit a shot with those iron sights is a foolish endeavor more often than not. Too busy chasing shadows. Bolo situated, able to win on that final kill before Dream can get onto the diffuser, and it's a 2-0 start for Darkzero.
And it looks pretty effortless. I mean, this is just DC controlling the flow, the pacing, cutting off the rotations, winning their initial entries, and never really giving up anything for free on the attacking side of all things. And that's very impressive. On Bank, it can be hard to get into the building initially. You're often fighting on window rappels or playing on those like long lines of sight outside the building. But DC make it look simple. They get that kill, they'll trade a body, and then they'll make up for lost time by speeding up the mid rounds. And they always have people actively playing on the drones as well. We see them 4 versus 2. A lot of teams might not think, hey, there could still be a roamer. No, this is assume both players' side, right? Not Darkzero. They drone out Dream despite being in the big advantage, and they have 1 player cut off the rotate, who then dies to Dream, but the 3 other attacking members of DC, they hit the bomb site, take down the side player, and get the diffuser down. And then sure, Dream's alive, but he's off the bomb site, attackers have the bomb planted. There's no way Dreams wins that retake. There's just simply 0% chance.
This carousel that they're currently riding on will now end up with us in a different part of this map, and it was a good time to talk about the actual stats of these bomb sites. 3rd round, 3rd bomb site for OXG. They've not been successful at all. So they'll go to CEO upstairs. It's a 50-50 win rate, by the way. 7 wins on attack, 7 wins for the defenders. Unsurprising to see Darkzero start out on Repel.
There's a starting position that you gotta go for, but this clash could be problemsome, I'm not gonna lie to you. With 2 minutes and 10 seconds left in the round, or 2 minutes 20 rather, it's gonna be a slow start with DC. Getting the repels, slow start against the building, get those EMP downs, but let's see what Darkzero have to say in this round and how they're gonna problem solve this defense from OXG.
Flash is probably, they're gonna probably power US too, so I'd play it very
quad.
slow.
I'm up
Okay?
E3.
Just like drop lip. Yeah.
No, dude. E3 and quad.
One's still quad. I'm holding him right now.
Is that ward and quad?
Yeah, one and quad. Cade was E3.
I think we go stop. We go stop. We go stop.
Okay, I can go. I can go.
Fuck that. We go for the stop.
Go out, nice, that's one.
Go for the stop wall. I'll yank EMP ace.
I'm gonna rotate off of here.
I think it's gonna be the one my plane is, so make sure we
Go see
check.
a repel if you have to. I can.
I can burn right now.
Yeah, maybe the first
fine.
one a little bit, so it sees us one better.
Okay. Let's get some burns for the.
I can. I don't
Just
even
run
see
into me.
magnets. I don't even see.
Okay, all right. If there's no magnets, are you ready? Let me watch my swing.
I'm gonna burn one swing.
Okay.
Oh, fuck.
Dropping on this.
Go. EMP?
Oh, need EMP or not?
Yes. So I can just flash.
I'm EMP now.
I'm watching your swing. Full flash. Flash, watch the jam.
right now. He's gonna walk up main. Natural stock, man. Natural stock. Yeah. Natural
Who is
stock.
it?
Flash turn back.
Did we get the kill?
I can go printer side. I can go printer side here.
He can walk up. I don't know.
You have eyes on him?
He's
No
walking
eyes?
Did he come on main or not?
He's on main. He's on main.
Okay, alright. Fuck that.
We're gonna
We
leave
should
him.
see Oval.
He's on main. He is on main.
I think
Don't
that's
do that.
He's in
I don't have
E2
enough
right now.
pellets.
flashback and stock. Flashback and stock.
Make a small
Jace,
hole.
Jace, come hold on.
I'm coming.
Okay, you
No
should
one's
be.
in, they're just playing
That's the
game.
K. That's the K main
Jace,
side.
come hold stock, and then Chud, you can just flash and just push the guy Jan. Jan needs to actually, I can push the guy
Can you
Jan.
take haste? Can you take
I'm
haste?
here
No,
stock
let me
side.
push.
Yeah, okay.
Let me push.
I might need to go windows here instead, okay, to repel in.
Okay, yeah,
Still
Still think
stock
TO
side.
wall.
I can push Jan.
Clash is just gonna hold me here.
Just distract him.
Yep.
Can you flash quad quick, Nick?
It's Warden.
I know,
Gonna
no,
just
one
zap me
second.
out here.
Okay, yeah.
I need the timing.
He's right side quad right now, I'm repelling in right now. Kill me
Stock?
from meeting.
Yeah,
That's on quad.
I couldn't do anything.
Right side quad, Nick.
Eating quad.
Jump banana.
Dude, this son of a bitch.
Okay, sure.
Oh man,
What a
struggles of Clash.
what a final statement. What parting words from Bolo as he assesses his options with the Clash staring right at him.
We've all been there, man. There's not much you can do really as most operators in a 1v1 against a Clash, especially when you're outside the building and Clash is inside as well in that window vault prompt. But DC didn't really get to do what they wanted. They were very much stuck for the majority of that round, and there was one moment very early on in the very beginning of that listen-in that could have changed everything. When Pambusu walked into lobby, up the red staircase, he had a slight misread in the situation. He checked elevators, thought it was clear, looked to his left, then got shot in the back. He could have very easily picked up 1 or 2 kills, created a bunch of chaos, turning all the guns from XG towards him, and then DC could have, done that same execute, but with much less resistance toward them. So it really could have been an excellent plan, but I think a bit of a mistimed execute, if you will. It seemed that the rest of DC wasn't quite ready compared to Pambusu. But also, it seems like the game plan is unleash Panda, give him freedom. If he wants to just look for a gap or an opening, let him do it. And if it works, act upon it. If not, you can continue the plan as 4 players. DC though got the first 2 rounds, of course, so losing that single round, not the end of the world. They've already gotten 2 attacks. They're looking for a third. It's a 2-1 scoreline so far.
I mean, you're still pretty happy with that one. I am a bit surprised with how much struggles Darkzero had with just conquering a single mirror window. I mean, that completely threw off whatever execute they had. Newer's just had to sit inside of, was a conference holding that mirror window for 2 minutes and didn't really have to exert much effort or have much influence on the round beyond that. But you lose Pambusu early, who's been excellent on entry all stage. He actually leads the league in positive entry stats. And he does quite well through the first 2 rounds. Obviously, without him, you might be in a bit of trouble. Spent a lot of time looking at that bag of cash on the desk. I don't know if you saw that. What do you think he's thinking?
Grab the money and run, All this work just for a couple of rounds. When in a single round, you can still tons and tons of money. It's bank after all. But yeah, you're right. Pambusu being a great entry player, if you cannot be enabled and speed things up for DC, they will struggle when it comes to time or maybe creating those openings. And also, bank as a map, you have a lot of utility operators. For example, in this round, you have IQ, you have Maverick, you have Twitch, you have Grim. None of those operators wants to die early. You want them to survive for the majority of the round, ideally until you reach the bomb site itself. And that's the thing about basement, like I said earlier. This often comes down to a 5v5 or a 4v4 bombs that execute. And I do think that is where Darkzero, that they thrive. But they're a bit slower this time around, and they don't have Thatcher for all those EMPs. So this kite pick from Gomez could very well be a problem unless the Twitch one gets in the bomb site, which is just barely did. Popped that Goyo canister, but did not clean out the claw. So now instead Canadian will have to go on that Maverick Torch duty and spend the next 30 seconds or so just opening up this hatch, but again, time will be quite low for DC also in this round.
Very quiet round so far, though. Only 45 seconds left. You wouldn't even assume that if you'd been watching along. The utility battle, as this bottom floor bomb site tends to be. How many of those Goyle canisters have DZ opened up? Do they have safe passage on in? Spot the Kaid of Gomez still holding down Garage, but they've missed the fact that somebody from OXG has now resumed that position at the bottom of the stairs. You hadn't seen that shoulder for a second as Pambazoo did. You could have been in trouble, and there's Diaz getting very active. Not before Dream has died, though. Both teams into a 4v4. Canadian had some struggles on that Ying. Down goes Bolo amidst the smoke thrown out earlier. Canadian firing away in active desperation. Will attempt to plant through the back of the bomb site. Nave and NJR still alive. Does OXG know this? Yaga trying to stop it, and just like that, the round is over. Every single player of OXG trying to get active in stopping Canadian, and none of them successful.
It can be hard to figure out what is actually happening in that round if you're a defender, because when time is running very low, you're always going to think to yourself, okay, guys, let's play safe, stay alive. They're probably not going to have time to plant. And they almost didn't. I think it was like 3-4 odd seconds left when Canadian got into the bomb side. So it very well could have been a position where, hey, let's just hide in corners. Time runs out. We win on defense. Hey, easy. But sometimes you'll make that wrong decision. You'll play too passive and actually allow someone like Canadian to get into a plant position and then lose the round. All of a sudden we see Yark, who was just playing keep away, has to sprint to the bomb side and try and shut down Canadian, but then dies to the cover of Nave, I believe. So it kind of falls apart. OXG, they're trying to figure out the tempo right now that DC is setting, and it's awkward when Pambazoo is so extremely quick while the rest of DC are, I will say, really, really slow in the round. It's very much a back and forth action. And OXG have been playing a lot of different operators. For example, Tubero, Kaid, Goyo, trying to play a slow round. And they try and play good guns and Valkyrie. Doesn't work out either. Now they're playing, I want to say, a lot of intel. Solas and the Valkyrie, bulletproof cameras, 2 of them in fact, and just good guns across the board. Dark with the ACOG, Frost with the ACOG, so as they can find all those drones. OXG in this round, they want to just fight Darkzero. It's not about denying the plant, it's not about playing the bomb side. This is going to be a brawl of a round where defenders will take the fight to the attackers.
Back on a rappel they go. Oh, at least Polo, who's got 6 kills to his name so far through this contest. Nave is actually the highest rated player on this team, with NJR not too far behind. Bolo trails Pambazoo, but is quite a ways ahead of Canadian. It's the hierarchy of this team right now.
See you on the other side.
Nice to see Bolo competing back at this level, and he's had good games. He had that, what? He had that 0-7 game, and then he had a 12-0 game, was it? Or a 13-0 game?
0-8.
0-8, sorry.
0-8.
Wouldn't want to not credit him for one of those deaths. Pambazoo dies to Newers. This is the start that OXG needs. Shut down one of the entry players on Darkzero. Most importantly, take that Ying off the board.
It's a very good start. Also, it's Pambazoo, so that's again like the spirit of DC. Now we should expect a much slower round from him unless somebody else speeds up. We've seen Canadian play Buck now 2 rounds, and he can get quick with it. Got the Skansuki, got the flash spans, can enable himself and his teammates if he has to. But again, getting in the building is the struggle right now on Bank. They had 3 players on the rappel. Now they're gonna start flying in those windows, but now they lack intel. So when one thing works out, another thing will be punished instead. But Nave wins the gunfight against Newers. It's back to a 4v4.
They're taking no prisoners now. Canadian in as another silhouette not far removed from his reticle. He'll throw out a flash. Looked the wrong way. Dream blinded as Doc. He can get himself right back up. Canadian punched from behind. That's a nice sucker punch from Gomez. As OXG now hold the numbers. Bolo and NJR working together. Dream popping up. Silenced by Bolo. Where is Diaz? That is the real question. All this action happening, and the bomb site is actually down below. Teller's archives, all 4 sites have now shown up. What is Bolo to do? He's holding on to that diffuser.
Yeah, the issue is intel. 2 drones from DC, likely, just like flank watch or dead drones. So they're playing this round blind. Now just play together, 3, 2, 1, try and organize something and get into that bomb site, and NGR might just lead the charge.
They're running out of time though. Oh, up to NJR. Both of the support players from OXG do not miss this time. It was Dream and Gomez as the last 2, if you remember, on that open area defense. They had some struggles. This time around, looking far more poised, and that's 2 rounds in a row now won by OXG.
And you saw the game plan. It was very clear. It's just fight Darkzero, play comfortable, strong guns, and whenever they started fighting top floor, it was more and more defenders rotating up a staircase to join the fight. There was a point that round where there were nobody on the bomb site itself because, again, the bomb site wasn't the point of contact for anybody. You can't rush archive silos as an attacker because it's the middle of the site with self-destruction all around you, so you have to go for a roam clear. And likewise, because of that, defenders don't have to play on the bomb site, but rather around it and above it. So OXG, they really understood the mission of that bomb site. Some teams have a hard time making that work, but they found that success right there. The big issue, though, is that where else can they get a round victory? Because if OXG cannot make CEO work, they will have a 2-4 side half. Not great, you know, considering the fact that they pick defense to start things off. You would expect that they want to get like at least a 3-3 even half, if maybe not a lead. DC though last time, they struggled heavily against the Clash, so it's no surprise to us that OXG will do the same thing again. It worked before, why not go for broke? But we do see a small counter adjustment here in both Nave playing the Nomad and Canadian bringing out the Capital. Likely, oh. Okay.
I don't believe that was intentional.
No, but it definitely worked out. That was Diaz putting down a mirror window mid-animation and a smile from NTR's face there. I think you recognize that. That's a free one. Yeah, we take those. That's cheeky. I mean, he certainly knew the lineup. If not, that was the wildest random wallbang ever.
You take them when you can get them.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's like when somebody disconnects and you say, that's my kill. Doesn't really work out that way. You feel a little bit better. You move on with your life. Seems to be the key for these DZ rounds, Nick, is whether or not Pambazoo is able to live longer than the first point of entry into the map. So far, so good. And with the fact that Darkzero's already got that first pick, albeit maybe an unearned or undeserved pick, Pambazoo getting an entry is not as dire as it usually would be. It also allows Darkzero to be a bit more confident with their numbers. If you're going to try to keep tally of where these OXG players are, having one fewer is a job a lot easier, especially if it's a Mira. That's one of the anchors inside of the site that now no longer can cause pain to you. It also means one of the 2 nitro cells off the board.
Yeah, also it might mean that one mirror wasn't even put down, but also it means one less gun on top of the fact that you're playing a Clash. Typically with Clash and Monty, they're going to be extended, playing passive roles with their shield up. They can't really fight back or shoot back at least. So because DS falls early, there are only 3 guns firing back at DC now because there we go, Clash is just sapping around. So if one player from DC can distract the Clash, then it's a 4v2 elsewhere.
Pambazoo now assessing his options. 45 seconds left. He's inside of the bomb site. Knocked over. It seemed like there was an air jab there. I'm not sure who that was knocked over. Pambazoo killed by Newers. The first casualty for DZ. Despite their advantage, they're having some struggles right now. It would seem Nathan Canadian on opposite sides of the map, but Canadian finds Yaga. Now it's up to Dream and Newers. Newers always a threat when he's in this position. Dream putting the shield away, the sidearm coming out. Newers now swinging. Ooh. OXG can easily win this round. All they need to do is find Canadian and Bolo. Diffuser going down. Newers, can he exploit the fact that DZ might be having their attention elsewhere? Walking in towards the A-bomb site. Dream trying to stall. Bolo manages to get away safely, and on to Rappel he will go. Shield comes out for Dream. That means Canadian will now be in a 1v2, but he also drops towards main lobby. Newers on the diffuser. Bolo waiting for this call. He doesn't have a line of sight. There it is. This upside down rappel outside is all but impossible to deal with, and I really feel for Dream. He's not even going to get Canadian. Canadian 2 kills and the diffuser. That's quite the scoreline for him just in one round alone, but how about an even better scoreline for Darkzero? 4-2, the first half in their favor. They picked this map. OXG picked defense, but could only win 2 rounds. What does that mean? Both swapping sides.
It certainly might mean that DC will just take this bank, assuming they can make their defenses work. But I would say DC are typically a team that is doing better on defense than that of attack because there are struggles with the timer and with the entries. And even in the final round in the first half, the way that Pambusu died is comical. He runs into CEO breach, going to open things up, but the air jab from his teammate of Nave got caught by the mine magnet, and it gets popped after a couple seconds, knocking Pambusu on the ground. He dies shortly after. So despite that early death really not being planned out and not intended, he still found the problem solving there, right? They had one player distract the clash, and yeah, of course, Dream put back away the shield rather, and got killed with a gun, but that distraction was all they needed to establish the bomb going down. Bolo jumps out the window, 1 point of HP, he's on the rappel, he can shut down any defuse attempt, just like he did. And we see Darkzero, you know, they are so disciplined in the postman. They don't give away anything for free, and they're going to play a solid, stable round of just playing keep away. DC was downstairs again. They love attacking basement 5 versus 5. They also love defending it because it plays with their strengths as a team. Play the layers, play together, and have that execute where you can either deny the entries away into the building, or if you have to later on, fall back to side, then deny the plant with Echo, Smoke, and a C4.
A certain level of confidence, I feel like, on those DZ entries against OXG. It's a tough day for Darkzero yesterday because of issues on Friday. DZ did have to play those 2 matches, not back-to-back, but with very little reprieve in between them. Because of that, DZ has just a couple hours to prepare for their next match. Their adversaries, the time Beast Coast, well, that was the only match that they had to play, so they could spend the entire time watching DZ's game against LG, counter-strat them. Newers now found on square stairs. Pambusu getting very brazen, and I mean, these are 2 extremely gifted mechanical players. Why not have them run headfirst into one another? Yaga's no slouch either, and he picks off Canadian. That was the castle roaming. It looks like he went for the jump out. There's blood adorned on the brick wall, the exterior of the building. It's not where a defender is supposed to be, Nick.
No, I mean, I like the first play there from DC, lashing out, getting the pick, but the jump out is a little bit of a gamble, but of course, we can always say that if Canadian had gotten the kill instead, that's a 2-for-1 trade. That's phenomenal. Still 44 favors defense, but, you know, never count out DC when Pambusu's alive. He finds Dream as well, and they are stopping this roam in its tracks.
Gomez and Diaz, last 2 left, the 2 newest additions to OXG with a little over a minute to go, and they start by finding Pambusu. That's quite the trophy. Now Bolo as well will die. OXG turning what was a terrible situation into a very workable one. Still a Yokai drone in play. Nafe sequestered over towards elevator, but that is the bigger issue. Fuser on the roof of the building. OXG is going to have to retrieve it, which means that Gomez will shave about 20 to 25 seconds off of the clock, if not more, just to get into position. He has opened up the hatches, so job done there. Now the translation to an execute begins. Gomez, no utility remaining. He has 3 flashbangs. That's really it. Nafe throwing out an impact grenade. Diaz worried that the flash did not work. It does. Now it's Nafe taking damage, but finishing off Gomez. Diaz to burst forth from elevator. But nobody from DZ showing themselves at all. Diffuser and a plume of toxic gas. NJR still got 1 for added measure. Get on that smoke. So hard to deal with. There's also a Yokai drone up. All DZ needs to do is play keep away. No opportunity whatsoever for OXG to find either of the 2 remaining players. They might not have even been on the entire map as far as OXG knows. Not exactly the start OXG wanted, as that's another round in the column of DZ.
I think DC playing Border yesterday gave them a new way to play the game, because they're playing kind of atypical Bank Basement, also very atypical Darkzero. They aggressed into OXG on the defensive side, into the attack. And that's not what DC normally would do, right? They would fall back, play it smart, play predictable, if you will. And I very much believe that OXG were caught by complete surprise in that round. Pam didn't go for 1 swing or 2, he went for 3 separate swings. Bolo got a kill as well, Canadian jumping out a window. And while the jump out didn't work from Canadian, Bolo and Pambusu both found kills, and it forced OXG to rush down the main staircase and try and hit the bomb site directly. So this is just throwing OXG off their A game and throwing them a bit of a curveball, making them work on the adaptation, you know, on the fly. And OXG, they have shown signs of trouble with that, not just in this game, but also throughout the stage so far. this could be very much an intended way for DC to play this because it speaks into the weakness of Oxygen. It's good prep work if that's the case, and it certainly has worked out so far. DC leading 5-2 with OXG just calling their tactical timeout. This is not looking all too good, but this is DC's map. That's the big kind of positive thing to this.
Oh, what do you think they could possibly have talked about during that timeout? What is the biggest issue that you see afflicting OXG at this point?
So, in the interview before the game, Diaz spoke about how they were having some issues with energy when they were playing yesterday, and how they started off strong, they lose a couple of bad rounds or a bad map, or they cannot figure out how to play like either defense or attack, whatever the struggle might be, and they have a really hard time getting that energy back up and like working together on the problems. And often what actually they need is like a reset. So Bank right now might be a lost cause, but then they can figure it out in between map 1 and 2 and pick the pace back up on border. But the issue is, while you can lose a map in the best of 3, you need to be able to figure it out on the fly, because if you go third map and it's going poorly for you, there's no way back into it. So energy, reset, get back into it, fight until the end.
We got to hear what Darkzero was saying, and I think this is a perfect opportunity with the fact that Diaz just got the lead-off kill on the Pambazoo, that we take the same time and opportunity to do it with OXG as well.
Do you want to go below or fuck that?
Yo, I think they're bandit tricking elevator. Yeah,
they are
yeah, I just heard
him. I'm gonna need.
You're gonna have to nade that.
I'm gonna need.
Well, he killed Lamai. He killed Lamai. Let me see if there's any.
Okay, Jay,
still probably one.
Castle right here. Yeah, I'm coming.
Yo, set up an E-True drone while I'm running this, Yog.
Yep, I will.
So I see one thing we'll need to burn. I think I could smoke that, Yog. That's all I could see though. I couldn't drone the rest.
For new, I think you go. Okay, never mind. Grab.
You just gotta hold. You gotta hold hops. You gotta hold hops while I grab him. Okay.
Yo, I kind of want to get on.
I can nade these bandits, but I need. Okay.
I have one burn.
Wait, what casto? What casto? Did you get already? I don't see it. The banana one.
I burned it.
Okay. Yo, listen. Yo, he's in Trump right now. But listen, Diaz,
I don't think so.
Don't worry about it, bro. Diaz, I need you to get E3 wall. I can nade the util off.
I'm going right now. I'm going right now. Yes,
yo, when you nade. Let me know when you nade.
Okay. I can nade whenever. You guys ready?
Yeah.
You ready? Diaz, you need to get ready.
I'm going off of you.
What do you say?
I'm going off of you.
Get the E3 wall as soon as my first nade goes off, alright?
Okay, yeah.
Count it down, yeah, count it down.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, I'm nading. I'm gonna nade again. Nading again.
Getting it?
I didn't see him.
Yo, he's on ping, looking at, he might know you're on rappel. There's two Trump. There's one there and there's one prone under the windows. Windows peeking, they're peeking.
I'm getting off, I got off.
We should go to the other side then. I'm gonna go top left. Is this guy in E3?
Just hold my swings, dude. Are we ready?
Fire the E3 guy?
No, I'm firing Trump.
Here, I'm holding it.
Everyone ready?
Yeah, I'm holding it.
Oh, I'm dying. I can't do it here. We gotta swap. We're gonna have to do windows take
guys,
square.
we just gotta do something, guys.
Yep.
Can we just go together? Can we just rappel in the windows and go together? I'm gonna drop marble.
Yeah, I can flame.
Where do you die from, Yog?
He nitroed all the way from top red.
Okay, that's unfortunate.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just smoked it.
3. Is there a guy in E3, guys? Do we know?
Oh, no.
Jump marble.
I'm repelling in.
Jump.
Jump dead.
Hey, janitor, one janitor. I can plant. I'm gonna plant.
5 seconds remaining.
Hey, wall bang me. What? Wow, dude.
Just tragic, bro.
It's tragic indeed. A great way of putting it. A round that seemed like it was all but tied up and delivered straight to OXG headquarters, and yet with 2 players watching Dream with diffuser in hand and knowing that the last player of DZ's in Janitor, they are unable to stop Nafe, who gets the kill onto the diffuse planter, and it gives DZ the victory that round. Instead of it being 5-3 and being far more winnable, it's now a 6-2 score line, and the climb back for OXG has just gotten so much harder.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a mental chalker, that is for sure. And one thing that I like to do during these listenings is close my eyes for like half of it and try and see if I can figure out what is actually happening from the attacking side, just purely off voice comms. And I made a note that said, I don't really know what's happening. Like, I don't know how they're supposed to problem solve this round. I open my eyes, a couple seconds goes by, and they're in the side in that 3v2 getting on the diffuser. I didn't really feel like that's what happened when listening to communication. I heard them having a very hard time opening at the first wall towards, it's called Kanto spot typically, the elevator double wall from outside. And then it was like, okay, I'm dying, is stream calling. But then they get in the building, they get those guns fired up, but they plant in arguably the wrong position that doesn't have any cover for a wall bang, and it all goes south. OXG, if the energy was bad before their tactical timeout, I am sure that this feels terrible right now because they should have won a round, but they didn't. And as Jason put it, Bolo, in his player interview before this matchup, he said, we cannot live in the what-ifs. You have to play it round by round and not worry about what could have happened, what should have happened, but rather what did in fact happen, learn from it, and do better next time. OXG certainly gotta learn from that position because you gotta make sure you close it out when you're in a 3v1 trying to get down that diffuser.
Putting a utility from OXG to take care of the problems that have been thrown their way from Darkzero. I am a little disappointed with how little OXG has been able to stand up to DZ's firepower. Only 2 rounds on attack. Or 2 rounds on defense, rather. No rounds on attack so far for OXG. I will say the saving grace is the fact that this is DZ's map.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if this was OXG's pick and DZ's got their next map up, yeah, there's probably trouble in the water. It's been a long, long time since OXG has competed at an international event. They looked like up until the second last day of the NA League, like they were going to finish first overall. Now they might not even make it in one of the 3 spots. And then they'll go down to the last chance qualifiers. Don't really want to get ahead of ourselves because we've still got another map to go. But this is certainly not the beginning that OXG envisioned. You have to ensure that you don't have an ending that you didn't envision either.
Tough round. Yeah, you're down on match point. That's an obvious, thing to figure out, but problem solving this, the deployable shield in their face, no real soft destruction. I mean, you got uncookable nades on York and you got DS on the floors, but they're progressing very slowly here. I just be smokes and flashes and Gomez like straight in and try and gamble those 50-50s, but then they toss out the Toxic Babe. DC are stalling out OXG. They're just gonna go for it.
Bambazu and NJR greets them. OXG falling by the wayside. Gomez the only one on the board so far. Down goes Nathan Canadian. Deployable shield position inside of this break room will be a big challenge. There's really nothing Gomez can do to take care of it. He has no Flores drones either. There's no explosives here. As long as DZ do not put themselves in harm's way, oh my goodness, they should be okay. Olo to retake, but he's shut down by Gomez. That looked like a great start for DZ. But they just couldn't stick the landing. OXG winning all of those last 3 engagements without any utility whatsoever. Impressive stuff.
Very surprising stuff as well, because I mean, with the opening score that they did, I'm like, okay, they're completely locked out. The first push didn't work out. They lost a lot of utility, but then again, OXG, when they're hitting their shots, when they're believing the system and working together, they can get those aggressive entries working for them. It's just the consistency issues. It happens maybe twice, 3 times in an entire, map, whereas OXG, in a perfect world, they could make that work maybe twice that. Doing it 5 or 6 times on the attack, was the majority of the rounds. It has been, as you said, like OXG started off very strong in the NAL this stage, kind of fell off towards the last week or play day or so, and there is one notice that OXG, they maybe started having some issues. That's a fair point to make, but also the other teams that had made roster changes or figured out their footing, for example, a team like Beast Coast, that lost their first 3 games, looked like a completely lost team that, okay, they're not gonna make it very far. Then they figure things out. So a mixture of you stagnating as a team, other teams improving, that can make a very big divide all of a sudden. If you look at Darkzero at the 6 Invitationals just in February, you would think, okay, DC, they are most likely to finish 1st or 2nd in an AL because they look so good at the Invitationals. And then they have a very rough start to their season. It's hard to be consistent in Rainbow Six Siege, especially when new operators come out, or a map shuffle in professional play, or meta changes, like the game has been slowed down about 15% between SI and now. You zoom in slower with your weapon. There are now new ACOG scopes on defense and attacks. Things have changed and adjustments take time. The teams to figure out the fastest will get ahead, of course. Amisu, are you gonna jump out of match point, sacrifice the Solis, or are you gonna stick this very unsafe corner? If he gets thrown out, he might be stuck, and all it takes is one nade to take him out, but I think he's looking for a jump out.
And he nails it. Does he get back alive? That's the real question. Oh, no, 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 no! Dream gets credited with the kill. It looked like for a moment there he might have actually gotten away. Pambazu was so close. Olo and Gomez tie. They both die, trading it out. Look at the score lines of the remaining players on the right side of your screen. Diaz with 9 kills, Dream with 6, Newers with 8. Only really Yaga that struggled in the offense department as Gomez is in the ground, but he has 11 kills to his name. Oxygen doing a far better job ultimately of being carried by top players, whereas with DZ it's far more spread out. Bolo is the only player on the side of DZ to have broken double digits. He's at 11. Next closest, Nafe at 7.
Defense has a pretty clear win condition right now. You gotta go plant deny, toxic babes, impact grenades, and of course those yokai drones from Nave on the Echo. Likewise on the attack, you got IQ up alive. So both teams can very comfortably still play to what I think they wanted to originally in the 5 versus 5. Attackers can go for a plant, defenders can go for a plant deny, and they can both counter one another. And it's 3 versus 3. It's like a perfectly even balanced situation where defenders can cover every single hatch drop or entry path, but also attackers also cannot overflow the bomb site because it's an even man count. It's anyone's round. It's still, of course, match point. The DC 6-3, but it's OXG. They gotta start this push. They gotta show us they don't have planned over kills, but most importantly, they have to work together and not isolate themselves in those gunfights.
Again, limited utility. Down goes Canadian to Diaz. Dream was close by enough where he could have potentially got this last kill. It's Nathan and NJR, same as before. The 2 support players. Dream goes for the vault, taking an awful lot of damage. And now finished off by the impact from Nave, who looks as casual as can be. Diaz, the last one for OXG, running out of time. He gets 1 kill, still 5 seconds to try and find Nave, who now just needs to play keep away, but gets the kill anyway. Easy take map 1. Impressive stuff.
It's a very good start from them. I mean, DC looking much more alive from the server. I was thinking, okay, if they have a slow start today, that could be the end, for their playoffs run so far. They have a quick start, looking like a good team today. Certainly had good rest after yesterday's performance.
At least one more map. See if DZ qualifies for Manchester. Will they get it done, or do OXG strike back on their own map pick? We'll find out in a couple minutes.
In a world where everybody would have been expecting Darkzero to pick Chalet, they throw a curveball at us and go bank instead, and it turns out to be exactly what the doctor ordered. They win their own map pick in our last Manchester qualifier game of this playoffs, and now OXG are in a bit of a hole, not just because they lost, because they lost and didn't really have a response in map number 1 to carry with them into map 2. DZ looked great.
No, DZ looked phenomenal. I mean, this isn't really surprising to me. I don't think it's probably gonna be surprising to you either. They definitely look like they knew how they wanted to approach this map. There were some areas that, even just watching from a player point of view, they weren't even clearing necessarily with a drone because of the prep and the VOD reviews that they had from their most previous game against SSG with OXG and SSG. Yeah. And you could just see that they had the initial strat of how they want to do it. That was a beautiful wall bang, by the way. But no, DZ had this clinically down to a T of how they wanted to approach this map and take this map overall.
Oh, 100%. I think for Darkzero, a lot of their executes were the classic DZ style where they're going slow with very little time, but they've got the man counts. They know exactly what they want to do, and they're able to execute that even though the clock is at its lowest. Darkzero are so good at using every little bit of that clock. I thought there were a couple of times where Pamba was dying kind of needlessly in the early round, especially solo without really any chance of getting the trade. But other than that, super clean game from Darkzero. Loved their basement defenses, combining the best worlds of both really strong roamers coming up with Bolo and Pamba having great impact, stalling and getting kills in the early round, and then super strong anchors, Smoke, Echo down below so that they can win on time when they need to. Clearly really well thought out from Darkzero from start to finish.
In the series they played yesterday, sometimes they had man count and it fell by the wayside real quick. Sometimes they had man count and converted. If they had man count here, they converted, it seemed like, basically every time. And in cases where they were down, like that Nafe 1v3 that we noticed up top, moments like that for DZ showing that they really have an understanding of where they were lacking from yesterday and translate it into bank. And so far, it's worked great, especially because those attacks looked so dialed in.
Yeah, and again, I think the attacks were really Darkzero style attacks. The way that they were able to push in seemed very, very efficient. It really felt like Darkzero were in their elements on this map, and I don't know if Border is going to be much of the same. Looks like we have the round, yeah. So round 4 is one of these where we have a super low time. And watch these Toxic Babes being utilized by Yaga. He had 2 in his pocket at the start of this clip about 10 seconds ago. He's used both of them, and Canadian's able to use that fact to just sneak out of this elevator with perfect timing. And again, every little moment of that clock is being utilized well. Canadian, 9 seconds, he's aware of it. You know what? I have time to check for somebody near gold. Nope, nobody under the rotate. And then he still has time to go get that plant down. The coverage from both Nafe and NJR to position themselves is perfect. They clean up those last couple of players who were all pushing in. You didn't see it to the end, but they managed to get all 3 of those kills with beautiful plant coverage. That is a classic Darkzero execute.
Again, you look at the stat line for DZ, they all look relatively close. Obviously, you got Bolo and Nave carrying that, but down the list, everyone's relatively close. It was a team effort, a 7-3, that's a team effort in the end of it. Now you look on the Oxygen side, still, I mean, that does look like a team effort across the board, but I did talk about Yaga in the beginning of this, that he needs to be performing, and here again, we're seeing a 2-10 performance from him. Yikes. And again, this isn't me going at Yaga, saying he's a bad player, because we all know Yaga and the potential that he has. We just need to be seeing it here going into these matches and finishing out the rest of this, and especially going into this Border.
Yeah, I feel like Yaga sometimes wasn't really playing the right operators for the job. That last round sticks out in my mind where he's on Repel, on the Grim, and there's no Claymore, so Pamba just jumps on out, and it's like Grim is an execute operator. You're really struggling with the roam clear against this Darkzero setup. It's the exact same setup as the last time you played it. You didn't have answers for it. Feels like sometimes maybe Oxygen just need to go back to the drawing board to set their players up for success.
We move into map 2, and Border was a map that was played by Darkzero twice yesterday, 1 win, 1 loss. Last time we saw OXG play it was back when Beast Coast didn't really have their stuff figured out quite yet. It was a very quick 7-3. OXG liked the pick probably because they trounced Beast Coast so heavily early on, and because they have 2 maps of DZ playing it from yesterday with pretty mixed results. So if there was a time for OXG to bounce back, can they do it here?
Yeah, and I love that you say that. They do have 2 VODs to watch exactly what DZ did in the beginning and what they did in the end, so they can really try to calculate how they want to approach that. My only issue is, and Pangu touched up on it, is the energy. When you went to their player cams, even in the beginning, they didn't look super hyped. Typically, when we saw OXG in the beginning, Newers was smiling, Diaz was smiling. Even in losing rounds, they were laughing, and we weren't seeing that. So the energy definitely needs to be picked up. But if this is going to be the map that is going to set them up going into that 3rd map, this will be it 100%.
Yeah, I expect to see a consulate on the board here. I think for Darkzero's playstyle, again, they like to go for these late pushes with as many players alive as possible. That's just not possible on Border, right? Oxygen are going to be able to control the pace and have these rounds move a lot faster. We saw both of DZ's opponents able to do that yesterday. And while Darkzero were fighting back at sometimes, often it was big hero plays from guys like Pamba, which really enabled them to do that. So if that's not happening today, if Oxygen can watch for that aggressive play from Pambazoo, just like what we saw coming through in Darkzero's 2nd game of the day, then I really think they should be able to find success here on Border.
But my big question for Oxygen, this is going to be 2 straight maps where it basically has to be counter-stratting against the way that DZ played Border yesterday twice, again 2 VODs, against the way that they played DZ on Consulate. If they need to go to Consulate, remember, that was a 7-1. That was over before it even really started. So now it means OXG have to dial in for 2 maps straight in order to even have a chance to get to Manchester.
The biggest thing is with counter-striking, that is the initial prep going into the round. The biggest thing is going to be the adapting, and obviously starting on attack here on Oxygen, that's not great. Yeah. You can understand what they're going to do, but DZ, I have no doubt, is going to try to switch up or maybe do something a little different. I think Pamba's still going to be playing top east and maybe fighting for that pretty aggressively, but this comes down to a game of adapting, and that's what Oxygen is 100% going to have to be doing here. On top of, we did talk about Yaga. This is a map that forces a lot more teamwork than Bank being really spread out.
Well, let's see whether or not Darkzero can finish this thing out in 2 maps straight, or whether we get what everybody here was hoping for and get a much closer series. Consulate may be on the books, but we have to go through Border first. It's Parker and Pengu with the call to see if Darkzero can make Manchester right now.
DZ might only be 7 rounds away from punching their ticket to the UK, though given that this is not their map and given what we saw on Border yesterday, I think 7 might be a little too ambitious. If Darkzero does come out ahead here on Border, Nick, I think it'll be a grueling contest. What's more likely in my eyes So OXG wins, and we need a third and final map to determine which of these teams does make it. But who knows? Things have been completely up in the air with not just the NA League, but all the regions. Just look at the teams that will be representing Brazil as a good indication of that. Border on the docket and operator bans will come in. Do you think we're going to see anything abnormal with who they remove from play?
Maybe from OXG, but not from Darkzero, because I can tell you right now, they've already shown it. Though it could be an Asami. Oh. OXG, they removed Ying so far, so again, nothing out of the norm. The big question is Defender, Intel, Pulse, Solace, Valkyrie, Fenrir. Okay, so things will stay again. Very similar. OXG start an attack. It makes sense. Ban out Defender, make the engines a bit easier for you to achieve. And then Asami. Ooh. DC, when they played Border yesterday, I don't know how you will counter-strat that. I don't know how you will prepare for it, except for just prepare for aggression from Pambasu. That's the one big takeaway. But I think if you're Darkzero, it's very easy to change up how you played Border yesterday because of how chaotic it was. Like a lot of it didn't like make sense from like a top-down perspective, and without having the communication from Darkzero every single round, I was like, I have no idea what they're trying to do. And it sort of worked and sort of didn't. So I'm very curious how Border will play out. I'm curious what OXG will do as like their counter prep work looking at yesterday's game. But there's always this kind of downside where when you have a lot of information as to how a team played Border or any map in the past, if you prepare too much for that and expect certain things to happen and then they don't, and Laxton touched on this very well, it comes down to mid-round adaptation. And I think that's been the big struggle for OXG in this stage, in that previous map, and in general. So we have to see OXG, again, energy up, feel better about the rounds that they win, and ignore the rounds that they lose, but most importantly, problem solve, problem solve, problem solve. This first opening round for DC, we're seeing the same thing that OXG did on Bank. Good guns. DC, they want to fight, they want to give freedom. Pambasus and Oryx. What better arbiter than just like go for gunfights than Oryx? Then you have Boro on Doc. If Pambasu wins a gunfight, but takes a lot of damage, guess what? Those Doc stims brings him back up to full HP. And a good old stable Canadian on Solus to deny information on those drones to make sure that they know exactly where that intel is coming from.
Well, if you saw the matchup yesterday, you know how messy this can get and will almost certainly get. Darkzero had that dog in them yesterday, even if it didn't end up being the right result.
That they did. I mean, I'm not against them. I mean, DC normally play like what we call like slow or predictable, or some people call it boring. I find it quite interesting how they play. I like how they're playing more methodical and slow paced, but that was not what happened on Border. So prepare yourselves, as always, if you're a DC fan, for a heart attack potential here. Overtime, crazy rounds, you know the gist if you're a long-term DC fan. For OXG, hope for consistency. That's all I can say. It's a slow start though. Nomad and Brava and Twitch all being in action, or not Brava, Nomad Floors and Twitch being in action means that OXG gotta use their gadgets first, then start shooting their guns later. So this first half of the round has flown by, nothing has happened, but now Neurus is inside the building, looking for a potential first engagement.
Selma's tossed down, only one remaining in pocket for Dream. Is a very familiar spot, not far removed from Customs. He loves to play that when he's on Maestro. Whether he will opt for that operator in the same part of the map when you go to defense is anybody's guess. For now, it's Canadian on the solos. He was playing a bit more sheltered on defense previously, but now will likely be more active. He's got to see that drone, right? That's on top of the skylight overlooking lobby. Like, surely.
Not so sure. Looks like OXG might go for a horizontal take here. Just like go straight for the side because they're not the buff. Yeah, they're just straight in the bomb side. Hello, DC, wake up.
All 5 players at DZ and not a single one currently situated. Nope, there down goes Gomez. Where is Nafe? Neur's direction is somewhere else. They knew that this was going to happen. They've boxed Dream into this position, and now Canadian will decide to engage. But that's the barrel of the gun. He's not doing any damage.
What?
Takes down Dream and can now hop on that diffuser for the counter disable. Viewers might have a window of opportunity here, but Darkzero is picking apart OXG. The only one left is Yaga. He gets a single kill, but the round goes to DZ either way.
Okay, there are 2 ways we can break this down. we cannot go DC. They baited in OXG perfectly and had the counterplay and the retake, and they won the round almost flawlessly despite the bomb going down in a 5v5. That's one story. The other story is OXG found the perfect gap against Darkzero, got the bombs at 5 versus 5, got down the diffuser, but did not have the cover. Newers was inside a blue/customs double door, and despite that, Canadian crossed right in front of him to take down Dream and to start counter diffusing, and then Newers got distracted afterwards with the rumors of DC. I'm not sure which one is the real story, but one of those surely will be. So DC get the first round, and OXG again, they struggle with problem solving arguably in that round. They are very slow to the punch, and they don't necessarily fight back against DC. A 5v5 plan on border going down that's not a side rush is very uncommon to see, and normally just means that attackers are very unaware of what they want to do in that round, or at the very least unable to find enemies.
That's the kind of start you want to have if you're Darkzero, just as we saw. Just as we saw on the previous map, DZ picked Bank, OXG gets the starting side. They thought Basement was the better side to go on, and well, they weren't wrong. They won 2 rounds when they were defending and were only able to win a single round on attack. As for Border, DZ gets to pick the favorable side. They've already started off well, winning their very first round. And they did it on a bomb site that sees a fair bit of play. Border's an interesting one because it's the 3rd least played map, technically tied for 2nd least played map in NA with Cafe, so we actually don't have a lot of data on how NA likes to play this map. But Tellers and Bathrooms is really a bit of an anomaly. 91% win rate for the defenders. That is an absurd win rate. By far and away the most defender-sided bomb site that has more than just a handful of plays. You've obviously got Kitchen Barbecue on Skyscraper that it's at 100%, but it's only been played 5 times. The fact that Teller's Bathrooms is the 2nd most played bomb site in this map, and you see those numbers being what they are, that's excellent. I don't know why Canadian reaggressed, but almost takes down Newers. Newers reduced to a single point of HP. A stellar player for Oxygen. You need him if you're going to be out-dueling these players on DZ, even though everybody else from OXG stepped it up today.
One of those plays where, again, like, OXG is starting to get into the building problem solving, so Canadian going for the swing makes it easier for them. Now they go Office, trying to isolate Pambasu instead. He's an Oryx, but again, Bolo on Doc, steams him back to full HP. Now he is the anchor point. Everyone's playing around Pambasu on defense, and all the attackers are trying to take him down.
Oh, he gets 1, almost 2. Well, I say almost. He actually didn't do a single point of damage to Dream, but the crosshairs were certainly close enough. That's a brief reset. Bolo holding on to 2 stim pistols. At any point, he can use those to get himself back up. Or his teammates if somebody takes any form of damage. Right now, nobody from DZ has suffered a scratch.
This could be tough. That's a very deep angle, cutting the entire bomb set in half. There's one saving grace, though. If OXG are too slow and start going for a plant, Nave is playing Echo once again, just like on Bank, and can shut it down immediately. They got 5 Bs left on Grim. 1 more summer charge in pocket as well. So they can just do Stereo Util, go into that bomb site, and again, 30 seconds. This Yokai drone shouldn't stop the plant because OXG, they have enough time.
Dream just needs to wait for the go-ahead. Gomez to watch from the door. NJR picking up Yaga down below. Yaga's having a really rough day. I think he finished that first matchup with only 2 or 3 kills. Dream attempting the plant. Diaz and Gomez now to cover. The 2 new players will be looking in this direction. NJR down below, and the Nitro Cell will connect. Now it's Gomez's turn. Lined up. There's still a Yokai drone on the board. Everybody's getting fed to the DZ show. That was an unpredictable end to the round, but DZ goes up 2-0.
I'm looking at these rounds, and DC are actually playing very similar to what they did yesterday on Border. So, assuming that OXG watched those games and prepared for it, I don't feel like they have the best counter prep in front of them right now, at least showing us. How that round started out was Newers and the Buck going into Passport and trying to, clear Canadian from below, just breaking a small portion of the floor itself. That doesn't work out. They spend half the round doing that. Then we saw Newers walk towards bottom east and kills Canadian. But only because Canadian double swung Newers. So if Canadian didn't want that gunfight, could have walked back and just taken that little bit of a damage trade and get healed back by the dog of Bolo. And that's it. So Canadian swings out, he goes down, makes it easy for OXG. Next up in line is Pambusu, but guess what? Pambusu only dies because Pambusu swings out, kills one, gets traded by the second. Every single time OXG progressed forward in that round, it's thanks to DC making a play into the attack. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you have to be ready for aggression, and they were. But the reason why I do think that it's bad is that OXG are not really doing anything to make the round go in their favor unless they're being helped by DC making that first move. It seems like they're just not entering the building, and nobody besides Newers is making an active effort to get into a gunfight. And this is Border. This is just like that old school like coastline. You have to fight it out. You have to brawl it throughout every single inch of that map because it comes down to gunplay. The only real exception, bombs that rushes. The glass, the blitz, the yings, the line, whatever. But that's not what OXG are doing. They're not going for fast pushes. They're going for conventional across the map roam clears without really seeking gunfights.
Gunfights are inarguably slower. But teams are adapting, and once again, we are starting to see things speed up. This is not the defender stranglehold on the meta that we had just a couple months ago. Mind you, gunfights were still fast then, but now changes to defenders have obviously made it so you can attack a little bit easier. Pambusu learned that lesson the hard way in that round, and now Canadian will as well, as both have been picked off, though Canadian hasn't been finished yet. Might be retrievable. No dock on the board for DZ, so there's no way long range to pick him back up. Ola will be playing the same weapon, which is that MP5 with an ACOG. Will be far enough back, but on Malusi this time. Down goes Canadian, finished off by Newers. So he's no longer available. Olo taking some damage as well. They're hunting him down. OXG far more formidable on this entry, Nick, as they've dispatched 3 DZ players, and we're only halfway through the round.
They're actually in the building. They're seeking engagements. They're playing aggressive, and they're just having one guy drone, one guy follow drone, get kill after kill after kill. This is how you play Border. This is what we've been missing from OXG, and they might make this round flawless. No, they don't. Nave gets one kill, looking for a second, gets the injure actually. He could save the round.
He could. Now you need NJR to be the superhero, as Dream is retrievable, and we picked up lickety split on that break room door. NJR yet to have a death, but I'd imagine that streak will come to a crashing halt in just a matter of minutes. 4 players from OXG, all of them having a good day numbers-wise. Maybe not yet, though we're only 3 rounds into action. NJR is miles away from where this diffuser is going to be planted, and he'll get a call to head back to the bomb site, but he has absolutely zero intel. Find his first target, lose most of his HP in the process, and then Dream, after popping off that diffuser, will seal that round up and give OXG their first round win in quite a while, and only their 4th round win today.
But I think that might be the best round we've seen from OXG, both across Bank and Border. I would even say that. I would go that far. They looked like they had a very simple game plan, and they all bought into that simple plan, and it worked out. Sure, Nave almost, got a play there, got 1 kill and an injure, but also, again, immediately, OXG, they don't seek back, they don't redrone the area, they go straight for the kill with multiple players together, and again, that is how you gotta approach these Border rounds. The thing is, bombs at rotation, that's the first 3 rounds being played out. So now DC can go for that same bombs at reset, go back to where things started off on tellers. And now she gotta show us they can do this on the other bomb sites. The big benefit I would say is, once you figure out Border attacks, it's gonna work pretty much across the entire board, because you usually do the same thing despite what bombs that you're playing against. You wanna take east stairs, you wanna take security, you take top floor, then you go first floor. Or even if you go for a bit of more, different kind of take, less common, like with Sophomore XD, a horizontal tellers attack, where you just, work the primary floor. Again, you'll just walk in together in customs, work together throughout the map, and get those kills. So apply that same playstyle from XD into this round, and they might find more success than previously.
Canadian will find himself in a very familiar position. Silver top lobby playing on that Solus that was spotted at the very beginning of round number 1. I don't know how long he's going to play in that position for, though. He was critical in shutting down Dream, wasn't he? He was getting the diffuser down. Did so successfully when we were a bit stunned at the fact that not a single Darkzero player was near or in the bomb site. Despite that, DZ still ended up winning the round on a beautiful retake. OXG finds themselves inside of the site alone this time. I suspect they will not pull the trigger on getting that diffuser down quite as quickly as they did because they know that DZ will be playing for the retake. Maybe we'll listen in and hear exactly what OXG is doing with this round.
You win 90. Solo's 90.
I heard. Let's kill Bullet. Let's kill Bullet and CC.
Heard?
I opened up dumbass. I can't play dumbass.
One plane armory. One plane armory. Shit on me. Shit on me. Can you get my Bravo camp? Get on my Bravo camp? Yeah, I'm on it. I hear one armory. I hear one armory. Yeah, he is. He's by the door.
He killed me as soon as I got on rappel.
He's going small. In small juice.
I'm gonna go below again.
I think it dropped. I think it dropped juice. Oh no, he's still armory. Somewhere. Still armory.
Running out. Ran back to armory, right?
Two armory. Yep.
2 armory.
What do you guys want to do here?
I think I just cleared CC. I'm pretty sure they reinforced back archives.
Sandwich?
Or back fountain, I mean. I killed Pamba dead.
Doc was sandwich, one was small, DS.
Heard. I'm holding this guy.
Or I'm not putting back fountain.
Yeah, there's 2 armor right now, guys. I just heard one drop.
Do you guys have CC? You should play the walk-in armor.
I do have CC.
Small. Nice.
Doc ran small. Doc ran small.
Nothing triple?
He docked
Nothing
himself
taco?
small.
Yo,
Small
fountain's
door,
clear.
DS.
Fountain's clear.
Swinging
I know.
Valk shut him small. They have a Valk cam on me.
Yeah, he's still small. Yo, get on camp 2.
Okay, heard on it.
Where'd he go? I think he jumped back in.
He's still in there. 100% small.
We're gonna kill this guy.
Yeah, he's still in there. On the door.
Shock him.
Shock him.
He dropped.
3v3. I gotta go faster. Just kill the guy with shot fast.
I'm gonna make
Drop
close
the
above.
hash. You guys don't drop the
You have
hash or
smokes too. You can bank smokes for the site draft.
They're gonna be in tellers.
You can bank smoke.
I think you go quarter sentries.
I think you're gonna maybe we kill the tellers guy. I think that needs to be the goal.
I'm just gonna drop the hash.
We flood tellers. Flood the tellers guy. I'm dropping with you.
10 seconds to go.
Black workshop. You want to try plenty?
Okay, I have to, I guess. Yeah, he's gonna be in tellers, so I'm gonna get banked. Yep.
Pamba crashed. And his cam is frozen. Excellent.
F.
Excellently done by DZ. Pambazoo crashed, by the way, and his cam is frozen. We've lost Pambazoo. Breaking news. Pambazoo has been summoned to the Nether Realm. You get to put those comms together. I will say this. I, having no actual experience in-game at a competitive level, tell you right now that I can understand those comms, but to me, while they're intriguing, I don't get the same value out of them as I'm sure you do. In that round in particular, what was the main focus from OXG and where did it ultimately fall apart?
I mean, it fell apart in the first 5 seconds of the listening because there was a quote, hey, let's go kill Bolo inside a CCTV, ... Then you get headshotted from Bolo inside a CCTV, and that was really like the big stone that fell, or the first point rather, that fell apart from the attack inside. But after Bolo gets the kill and then falls back to Armory, I hear a lot of call-outs about there's a player here, there's a player there. I don't hear a lot of action from OXG. The first thing that happened when they went quiet, somebody said, what do you guys want to do? And there's nothing wrong with that phrase, but the fact that there's not somebody immediately saying, guys, this is the new game plan, this is plan B, that worries me a little bit. Because when you listen to a team like Darkzero, when you historically go back into a team like G2, for example, there's always like, guys, this is the plan now. This is going to be the adaptation. So if you have plan A, hey, let's go clear security. Okay, you lose 1 or 2 players, then we got to hear, okay, guys, let's fish for kills. Guys, let's go into Armory. Guys, let's drop down and just like look for something else. There has to be some sort of action that leads you somewhere next. And that's what I was missing that round. I want to see the comms were bad because I thought they were quite good, but again, they didn't really have a clear roadmap to this is going to be what they want to achieve. And the round played out very similarly. They got to the bomb side, but they couldn't do anything with it. Didn't have man advantage, couldn't get down their plant. And we heard Jimmy himself say, guys, I know they're going to play tillers, they're going to wallbang me, we're going to lose. So that doesn't seem like a decisive, we know what we gotta get done, and we know how to get there kind of round. It was a, we're gonna try and figure it out, but it's probably not gonna work.
I am quite impressed that they know the players so quickly as to who's who and where they are.
Yeah.
I mean, they know that Bolo's going to be playing inside security or near break. You know, Pambazoo is going to be playing inside of office. Pambazoo, by the way, has returned. Woo! Breaking news, Pamba's back.
Love that for him.
I don't know if he had a
Drone
hiccup
sound.
or not. His internet or maybe his PC crashed. I'm not sure. But what's the win condition for Darkzero here on border? 3-1. They've picked up 3 rounds on defense. Obviously, I know you're going to say 4-2 first half for DZ. That's a no-brainer. But what's the win condition when they swap sides?
So one thing they did very well yesterday was actually playing the Monty. That's something that we can start seeing where that can be a way forward into border. But if not the Monty, then I think it's just, again, you need to have just a game plan. I very much believe that border is a map where having 5 guys follow a bad plan is a lot better than just not having a solid plan at all. And again, we always gotta show or like talk about Canadians' leadership. There's always gonna be a plan. There's also going to be a goal or purpose with the round. So I'm not too worried for DC on the attack inside in that regard. But of course, the guns have to hit their shots. And yesterday, Darkzero depended quite heavily on Pambazoo when they were playing border specifically. Pambazoo has had an okay time so far. I think all players in the server has had an okay time so far, but no one's popping off. Darkzero 3-1. I wouldn't even say that we should see DC go 4-2 because I don't think border should be defender-sided in the current meta in the game, by my standards, in my opinion. Of course, this is region-dependent, this is team-dependent, operator band-dependent, but I think going 3-3 if you're starting defense is perfectly okay. So the fact that DC are already up 3-1 is like they can ride this out, lose the next 2 rounds, and it's still fine for them. It's up to OHG to really step up now and try and claw some of these rounds back and show us some signs of life because, again, the energy levels not looking great on bank when they started struggling, and this could be the same issue we could see from them going into as we get deeper into this border. Despite this being their map, they've not had the side that they wanted.
NJR unsuccessful with both those impacts to keep that jail door, while jail wall in this case opened up, but now will function as an open door. That's very good value from the very first exothermic charge used by Dream. OXG's droning has been very good on border. They haven't had the same struggles that they did on bank, but again, as we say, just because you know where your opponents are does not necessarily mean that you're going to get a kill. Also, I've noticed from watching these matches, a lot of people are asking, is Newers standing? And it sure looks like it. Have we ever had a proper answer confirming whether he is or is not seated?
That's a good question, actually. Surely he's not standing playing Pro League, right? That would be... That's kind of look like it, though. I don't know. That's a good question.
He does look like he's standing. I don't see a chair behind him. The way he's leaning forward seems very unnatural.
Also good posture for sitting down, I guess. I don't know. Ready to be straight back. Not quite gamer posture.
Yeah, I'm not entirely certain. Nobody's died yet. We're halfway through the round.
Well,
I might have spoken too soon. Newer's looking for 1 kill, creeping up, gets Canadian, asserting himself. He's inside a break room. Also is through the soft walls. The one thing for DZ is they've been very good at getting a pick or 2, but then they collapse after that, and OXG can keep those numbers close. Only a single kill to be had, and OXG are back on the same footing as Darkzero.
One thing DC did recently is that they played Pambazoo as security before, but then Bolo joined the server, or the team rather, and now they swap positions. Pamba plays more free rolls out of office, Bolo plays CCTV. You watch Bolo's YouTube videos, a montage on border, way back in the day, you know he loves this spot. He's playing here the entire round. He's 1v3 right now. He's still sticking around, he's not falling back. He has so much experience in this spot, and some spots in this map requires sheer hours to play them perfectly. Bolo is that kind of guy.
Holding this pixel angle, lighting up Diaz. Down goes Nafe, and no, there's OXG grabbing the lead. What did I say? The 5v3 lead that Darkzero has established a few times in this matchup has really not worked out for them when it comes to keeping that advantage in their pocket. OXG will now run against the time. They've got the advantage in numbers, but what about the objective itself? NJR in a position that hasn't gone droned. It's Diaz now to trudge his way towards the site, slowed down by one of those Banshees, and unable to even get close enough to pick up the diffuser, let alone think about planting it. 4-1 for Darkzero. They've won the first half. What happens in this sixth and final defense for DZ?
Or even a better question, what happens in that sixth and final round for OXG on the attack? Because remember, attackers, they gotta make all the first punches, or at the very least, they're expected to. We've not seen OXG go for a rush, or like one of those like plant rush plays with like chaos effect, unpredictability, off pace, nothing. It's been very standard, expected kind of rounds from the attacking side. And every single team, they need a good anchor player to be a team that is like top class. And I think a player that gets kind of overshined a lot is NGR. We all know he's a good player, but he's just kind of there. It's Panba, it's Troy, it's Bolo, and even when Nave joined for Invite, it's Nave, right? But I think NGR is the pillar of Darkzero in so many ways, especially on defense. Because him being such a strong anchor player, what I mean by that, you play on the bomb side, you lock down the angles, you make sure nobody sneaks in, and in the late rounds, like what you saw on that Cousins bomb side, you just sit in that corner, holding the hatch, having Sound and Thor, pick up 2 kills, and play keep away. You win the round for your team. And because you have a stable, consistent player in NGR that can do that kind of thing, it enables the aggression for everybody else. Because he is very often the sole player on this side on majority of maps. It's just a little bit of praise for NGR, okay? Not only is he 6-1 scoreline, but he finds value every single round by making sure the bomb set stays safe. It is unrushable, unless, of course, that is the strategy from the very beginning. OXG, this can change, but they're hovering glass right now. I want to see... It's gone. I want to see something like that.
Say it, man. Just let it go. Just like write it out. You say it, and then it's like they know, and then they change it.
Bring it into existence. You said no one's died, then someone died. Okay, maybe I should do the opposite. I'm not seeing any glass, guys. Maybe go on it. I don't know. But I want to see OXG just change it up. They've done the same thing 5 rounds in a row. This might be the 6th, and it clearly hasn't really been working out. And if you're struggling like this, go for a cheese round. Go for a cheese play. A rush, something that's impossible to predict, maybe. I don't know, because otherwise, what's the point, right? You might lose regardless. Risk it all. DC could get a 5-1 on Border starting defense. That would be absurd, given how attacker-afraid Border has been in the past, even if it isn't right now.
Newers is playing the IQ primarily for the gun. You think there's more to it than that?
Is there more to it than that? ADS speed, baby. That's what it is.
So he is. It's just an entry operator. Gadgetry is not particularly crucial. It's for the weapons that are brought.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Slow round here. I mean, they're in. So now they know the setup. They see the vertical angles. They're in at 148. Block below is great, but okay, I guess they're gonna go on the break room door, CC window, block the floor, force movement, and pick off the roaming players from DC that are gonna be making too much movement. But it's Jason Bolo locking down that spot. Canadian falls first though, fighting Yawk downstairs.
Yawk having a significant improvement here on map 2 compared to map number 1. 4 kills to his name, roughly doubling his total from the previous map. Bolo was unable to save Canadian from that spot, so we can use one of those stim shots from his pistol selfishly. Afe will have the cross. If there's a jump in, he's holding this angle, playing on the Warden. But OXG don't want right now to attack from that armory side of the map. Instead, they're going to go through break room. They're going to punish over towards office. They're in danger of stalling out because they've got 4 of the 5 players not even in the building. The last one was Yaga that was last spotted downstairs. Now he's dead to Bolo, who's dropped. If OXG cannot get in the building, then this round might as well be over, Nick.
That's what I mean. They get opening pick very early on. They do nothing with it. Okay, now they're going to side out of nowhere. Okay, I guess they're in.
Bolo might have relied on NJR to get that kill. Nave sloppiness. Dream dropped. It's technically a 2v2. NJR and Pambazoo still upright. Dream probably not going to be retrieved, but it's entirely possible. NJR has only died one time. He and Pambazoo will approach from similar areas. Pambazoo not going towards 90. Instead, will go through security. NJR has to wait out all these flashbangs. Newer's taking damage. Fuser will go down successfully. Diaz dies. They'll loop around, but somebody's prone on the ground. Pambazoo doesn't know this. He has no information and no nitro cell either. If only he knew. It's a soft wall. Look down, go for the shot. He gets the read on it, kills him dead to rights. Newer's now the next one up. Pambazoo is sensational. Darkzero take the first half 5-1.
How did he know? They had no cameras, no intel, the perfect read in the rotation as well. And again, we gotta say it, anger play. NGR, my man, locking it down once again, enabling the team. But OXG, again, opening pick, they get it done quickly, they build that early advantage, they do nothing with it. And then we saw them, they're so capable. They out of nowhere, rush Armory bomb site. They could have done it a minute earlier, 60 seconds, and they could have done it many, many rounds ago. I don't know if they lack the confidence or they feel locked out by DC, but whatever is happening, it's not good if you're an OXG fan, because a 5-1 half on border is phenomenal for DC.
It's been 2 weeks since OXG has won a series against a team here in the North America League. Now, it is worth noting that those first couple, the first 8-9 games were all best of one. So it's a single map that you need to win on. Since March 29th, OXG has only been able to muster a single map where they won Chalet 7-4 against M80 just yesterday. Now, on their own map, they have a tremendously difficult task of going 5-1 to go to overtime. Now, it's possible OXG wins 6-0 on this second half and ultimately takes the series, or takes this map 7-5, sending us to the third map in the series. But I don't know, with the way that they've played today, if OXG is a team that can win even 4 rounds on this second side. They only won 3 rounds on DZ's map. On their own map, they actually had a worse first half.
Yeah.
That is really not something that I expected. I think I speak for most people when we say that OXG just have not shown up. The last week of the NA League, they lost to M80 8-7. The week before that, the match before that, SSG beat them 7-3. Before that, DZ beat them 7-1. Yesterday, they win Chalet and then lose the next 2 maps 5-7 and 2-7. Now DZ could, in theory, 2-0 them. This round's already off to a good start, though, for Oxygen. They can take a bit of a deep breath. What? It's Canadian. You might have had a free kill. Doc now being harassed in this position. Gomez dies to Pambazoo. Canadian continuing to march towards Armory. Is there anybody there to deal with him? The answer right now is no. An equal 4v4 as Pambazoo looking for another mark. The Lion scan goes out. Canadian being antagonized, taking matters into his own hands until Pambazoo is there for support. Flash go out. Diffuser going down. Canadians found the perfect spot. Diaz on the board for OXG this round. Newers dies. Pambazoo still covering. He's still got 2 of those death marks remaining. Canadian felled by the nitro cell. It was a very quick entry for DZ, and now the timer at the top is for the diffuser, not for the round. Pambazoo and Bolo, last 2 standing. Diaz taking a lot of damage. He blows himself up. Why did he do that? No! That's a huge blunder. Dream with 1 onto Bolo. Now needs to find the second onto Pambazoo. He can try to long arm this one. Grenade tossed in by Pan, but Dream in a safe position, he thinks, but that's match point. Series point for DZ. Oh my, oh my, oh my. What is happening to Oxygen?
That right there is how you control the pace and the tempo when you play border attack, and all it took for Darkzero was a singular round. Now, you asked me, Parker, about 3 rounds ago what I think DC should do when they go on the attacking side. I said Monty, and Canadian, he saw that same opportunity. Because if you're a team who is methodically very slow paced, which DC they very much are, one thing that can really speed things up is the Monty. It allows you to just like extend the shield, walk in. When you have a very experienced in-game leader like Canadian as well, you can extend that shield and put 100% of your processing power into problem solving, decision making, and communication. And from the very beginning, there's a very clear, defined strategy approach in that round. It was a gun behind the Monty, smoke off the cross, and isolate player security and get that opening kill. The moment they kill security player, they go straight to armory. No slowing down, just like keep that speed up. DC definitely looking improved from yesterday, and I'm sure playing 2 BO3s in that same time, even though it's not exactly back-to-back, took a toll on them, as it would with any team. But they had some rest, they went over what went wrong, and they certainly have learned from their mistakes. That, combined with OXG not really showing off all that much individually or as a team, has led us to this moment right now with DC are up 6-1.
Far from where we thought we would be. DZ looking for a breakneck pace. We're 20 seconds into the round, and they've already found a way into the map. This is in stark contrast to OXG just a couple rounds ago, waiting until the final 15 seconds to feel that there was some level of safety. They could themselves enter. Emizu just narrowly missing out on a kill. He was 2-2 at some point on this map, now sitting at 8-4. Just continuing to heat up, and is the highest rated player on DZ for good reason. It might have jostled around. Maybe Nate's back in first. I'm not entirely sure.
Certainly a good pace, though. The entire team working very efficiently. Nave and the IQ spot out those Valkyrie cams. One gets shut down, one gets hyped by Canadian, default cam as well. So yeah, DC in terms of like the map progress, they're not moving a whole lot right now, but they're taking care of the late round steps early in the round. So when then you start moving forward, they've already dealt with the things that are in front of them. They still got 1 minute 35 seconds to work as well. Outside the bomb set window, they have first floor control. The only blind spot right now for the attack is upstairs. But they might try and go for a straight bomb set take, similar to that of OXG. If they do go for it though, they have to make sure they got the right drones to the flank and the right guns watching those crosses so that nobody can retake from OXG.
Dave is searching for something. We can't find anything just yet. Bolo close in hand through the smoke. There goes an impact. Down goes Diaz. Yaga Gomez. Could this be it for OXG's chances? They fought so hard. They look like the best team in North America for much of the stage. They fell off at the wrong time. Peaked too early, maybe you could even say. Round is far from over. Well, maybe not. Nafe decides it is. And of course, it's the Brits sending Darkzero to Britain. Darkzero, Manchester bound. They don't even look excited. No real celebration, nothing.
There was a tough path here. I mean, I don't think they qualified the way they wanted to. They wanted a cleaner cut to get there. And I gotta say, I thought for a moment yesterday that DC might not make the major after looking so good at the Six Invitationals just in February. But then sometimes when things go the wrong way and you learn from your losses, you need to have those hard conversations rather as a team. That's when you can find the magic and get back on the same track and perform together.
Oh, absolutely. OXG are a cautionary tale for these teams at the top of the North American League because DZ looked like they weren't even going to make it into the top 6. They were constantly trailing the big dogs of North America. And then all of a sudden, DZ squeaks in on the final play day. And now, here they are, one of the top 3 teams. I will say this about Darkzero. They look downright dreadful a lot of days. But when they look good, they look great. And today, this is a DZ team that can genuinely make a deep run at Manchester. But of course, we say that not knowing all of the teams that will actually be present. North America will still send one more representative, just as Brazil will, just as Europe will. These representatives will come through the last chance qualifiers. OXG will have to battle it out with Space Station, with Luminosity, with all the other teams down in T2, not Los. It is a tragic result for OXG, but they come really close. But ultimately, the team with tons of experience, Darkzero, ends up making it as the third and final team here in the playoffs. I know the Desker one want to break that one down, and obviously we have the battle for NA with M80 and Beast Coast to fight as to who gets first in this region. Let's not slow down the show. We've been quite quick, and DZ set us ahead of schedule. So we'll be right back after this break with more of the NA League.
I kind of hate to do it, but using one of the old adages right now really seems like it makes sense. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Even if the teams that qualified for Manchester ahead of Darkzero are way different than anything else the North American League has seen, sometimes you just can't keep some orgs down when they're on a real hot streak. Darkzero have now officially qualified for the Manchester Major. It happened really, really quickly in this series because OXG just didn't seem like they had very much fight to give, especially after we transitioned to the match.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give it to Darkzero. They showed up today. They were hungry. They were the ones who left their foot on the gas, where Oxygen, on the other hand, and again, I don't want to discredit Darkzero's play, but Oxygen just did not look like the team that we were falling in love with at the beginning of this stage.
Yeah, really disappointing from Oxygen. Obviously wanted to see them come out here, win some more of those opening gunfights. There were a lot of power positions Darkzero were holding down on border, where it really does just come down to winning your ones, and Oxygen struggled in that for sure earlier today.
So that's 7 of the last 8 now for OXG. 5 win streak, 5 maps straight, looked phenomenal, made history. Now suddenly 7 of their last 8. This org is cursed. What the hell happened to this team? They fell apart in this series.
I think it came into what I was talking about with Beast Coast before. It's kind of that, you know, you're falling in love with the team. It's the honeymoon phase. You're having all the success early on. You made this roster change. You got Fox out. You're playing this new play style of Siege, and you're starting out great. And now you run into the problems. Now these problems are showing up. You don't know how to identify where you need to fix these mistakes. You don't know how to properly address the mistakes. And then it's just this endless cycle of mistake after mistake, or misplay after misplay. And then, or the lack of energy for that matter, that we just did not see here going into this matchup.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's like Oxygen regressing as much as it is like the start of the stage. They played a lot of the lower tier teams, and even the teams that they played that did end up finishing quite highly, well, they all maybe started kind of slow themselves and really improved. I think throughout this stage, every single team in the North American League has gotten better, has worked on themselves, except for Oxygen, it feels like. They've kind of stayed at the same level, consistently having these problems where they're not able to adapt, they're not able to win some of these opening fights, they're not able to get a real hold on the game, and it's frustrating to see for them and their fans. I mean, I'm sure they feel it. This 7-1 on their own map pick feels like kind of the real nail in the coffin. Like, it doesn't get more of a statement loss than this.
Yeah, and you can't just blame one person on Oxygen by any means. Losing a 7-1 in this series in general, that is a team problem. That is a team dynamic issue, whether that's comms, whether that's just not knowing the fundamentals, the adaptations that you were talking about. That is a team loss at the end of the day.
Round 1 also felt like it kind of epitomized everything. It was the round that started the map and then completely set OXG up for a landslide. It was DZ thriving in chaos and OXG kind of not knowing what to do with an execute.
Yeah, it was interesting here because you get Dream in here, great. You get the bomb plant down, but Canadian right here reads this and wants to go for this kill. He ends up getting this kill here, and then there's no one else on OXG that can help with the coverage here. He's getting blocked by that wall, and then they're trying to collapse on here, and the rest of DZ is just shutting Oxygen all around the map, but no one else from Oxygen is there to cover Dream on that plant. Or even when he dies, like there's just no one in range to possibly assist there. And it's just small things like that that could easily transition into a round 1. But again, the energy from Oxygen today just was simply not there.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because Newers was in blue, tried to get the angle on it to stop the disable, but he was fighting 10 different people at once to add absolutely no help. It was a rough one coming through from Oxygen, and that definitely did set the pace for Darkzero, set them up for this beautiful 7-1.
Everybody on DZ who may have had a bit of an off map 1 showed up on map 2, so it means everyone on Darkzero feels like they even out for the most part. And when we highlighted Panba, he woke up in all 3 of these playoff series for the most part, maybe with the exception of the loss to Beast Coast, but everything really came together in the end.
I mean, Pamba on border, you just got to avoid him on border. If you know that he's on East or you know where he is on the map, maybe just take the entire team and go a different direction and then meet him, you know, in a possible 1v4. And even then, that's a scary situation because he's really showing it's Pamba party time. And they just clinched Manchester. Pamba party time.
Absolutely going to be partying in the UK, that's for sure.
Let's talk Detroit Canadian real quick about this one. Dude, again, congratulations. You're going to yet another another major. I got to do a double check on how many you've qualified for at this point because it just doesn't feel like another Tier 1 LAN without you there. But walk me through this map ban phase out of curiosity. You take Chalet out, you go for Bank instead. It's not a map that you've played very much over the past 3 months. And allowing Border to slip through everything. Walk me through what that mentality was through bans real quick.
I mean, we've been banning Oregon against just about everyone, and then we've kind of messed with the other ban that we've dropped in there. Our last showing on Chalet was not the best, and I feel like a lot of teams right now are looking kind of comfy on Chalet. Yesterday, OXG honestly beat M80 pretty cleanly on Chalet, and I consider M80 a pretty good Chalet team. So yeah, I kind of says something. And I figured, well, they're going to probably pick between Border and Chalet, whatever we leave up. So we decided want to leave Border up. We felt comfortable with it. We didn't think our showing against Beast Coast yesterday meant that much. It was kind of, it was 5th map in a 10-hour day.
Right.
So wasn't reading too much into that. I think we made some very tired 2 a.m. mistakes, and that's just kind of the way it goes.
Well, I mean, I think the 7-1 speaks for itself. So for you, Troy, I talked about you guys throughout this stage. You guys were obviously having a very rough stage, and I can accommodate that to being best of 1s and not going into best 3. But it looked like you guys really just kind of changed the fundamentals of how you guys wanted to approach these maps. Like, what was the biggest hurdle for you guys?
Yeah, we definitely didn't come in playing how we wanted to play. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and we almost got crippled by like fear of making mistakes and fear to do something, and basically we just started playing confident. Simple as that. I think we still had some issues with it on attack that kind of came in yesterday, but again, I think partially I don't know, yesterday was a ridiculous day.
Well, this was gonna be another.
All I'm gonna say.
This was gonna be another.
Yesterday was a ridiculous day. So that, and then yeah, I think our defenses have been like insane.
Your defenses have been, there's no doubt about that. No,
confidence.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
playing with confidence.
For sure. I was gonna ask a follow-up question. There is, with the attacks, obviously that's where you guys were really excelling at SI. You guys were finding those attack win rates and success. What's been the biggest struggle now regionally?
I mean, like I said, I think the start of the stage was just like we weren't playing confidence, so that was like we were just stinkers all around. And then later on, I mean, we didn't even get that much opportunity to attack. Like our later games, we were actually we were just smoking people. So
it's true.
I think we're confident. We know how to pull through a couple. Obviously, on some maps more than others, but I think we're on the right track, and I think we've made some realizations of kind of what we need to do to pull out, the few rounds that we need. At the end of the day, it's a super defender sided game right now, so you only need a few attacks, and we have some ideas of how we want to kind of pull those out.
So Canadian, you as a 5-man roster on Darkzero are now heading to your 2nd international event after going to Sao Paulo earlier this year. What's the thing you're most looking forward to? Other than winning the major, I'm sure that's going to be priority number 1. But other than that, what are you looking forward to most about going to your 2nd LAN event as a full 5 squad?
I mean, just excited to compete again. Excited to be together with the guys again. I think we have a lot of fun together. Some great banter on the team and a lot of personality. We have a lot of fun together, so I think that'll be good. But I think we just all enjoy competing, so we're excited to get there again. We had a great time at SI. We did boot camp before too. We were there for like a month almost, and we had a great time. It just kind of flies by when you're kind of in it like that and playing against good teams constantly and improving constantly and all focused on the same kind of thing. So just excited to get back at that. Coming back online and playing a best of 1 stage, it kind of throws you out of the swing of things.
For sure.
We kind of had to have a little bit of a wake up call to get back into it. So yeah, excited to just be in that zone.
All right, you ready to feel old for a split second? I did a double check on how many S-tier LAN events you've been to since 2016. You ready for what the number is?
Sure.
21. This is going to be your 21st international
LAN. Is that number 1?
I think that might be the most of anybody.
It's gotta be.
It's gotta be. Like maybe Cameraman or Astro sneaks in there at some point, but even then, they probably are behind you by a little bit because Brazil didn't get added till later. So I think you're number 1 in that regard for sure.
It's curious how people still don't think we're gonna make events. It's curious. I don't know.
It's almost like you've done it 2, 3, 20 times before or something. That's weird.
Yeah. Why do I keep going?
I mean, it's crazy that you guys haven't gotten medical bills from you guys' fans. That's even more crazy.
Very true, very true.
Too many
very
people
true.
going in cardiac arrest. It didn't happen today. Obviously, much cleaner sweep. Congratulations on that. Is there anything else you want to say before we let you go, dude?
Just thank you to the fans. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the people that continue to believe in us. I won't say anything to the others. We'll let them rock. But yeah, see you guys in Manchester. Excited to play, excited to compete. And yeah, take care, guys.
Good stuff to you. Congratulations. We'll see you in Manchester.
Thank you. See you there.
Darkzero finally do it. God, I was scared at the beginning of this stage. I didn't know if they'd actually be able to pull themselves out of the hole, but they did. Kudos to them for pulling that off.
Sometimes it's just that simple, that you're in your own head, you're scared to make a mistake, which is a very real thing. I'll tell you, it's a very real thing, but sometimes you just got to come in there with confidence and just play to the best of your ability, and then it gets you a title event in Manchester.
Yeah, and that speaks to the experience of Darkzero, right? We said it on the interview. He's done it 20 times before. I like that, and now they'll do it again. Good to see them pulling it back the stage. Obviously, it wasn't the start they wanted, but they finish out so dominantly against Oxygen. You see the score lines there, 7-3 into a 7-1. Full control over this series. Absolutely put OXG in their place. Well done to Darkzero. I think they are going to be a astounding force in Manchester.
The big thing is third seed no longer falls down to a different stage in the majors because of the way that everything is now shaped up differently. And for Oxygen, it's a lot different because now they fall into a last chance qualifier bracket that is absolutely stacked. Sonics are already down there, Wildcard is there, Space Station and LG are both going to meet them after they play their match for 5th place that's coming up later. Everything about this for OXG says, man, we got to go through another 3 best-of-3s to qualify for something again. It's the same case for OXG. They start a stage hot, they can't finish a stage well. It's just the same story again and again.
It's a tough situation to find yourself in, but at the end of the day, if you want to make this event, it doesn't matter where you end it at the end of it. You have to finish strong and make that run for Manchester.
Oxygen have lost in back-to-back major LCQ semifinals so far, all through last year. That's as far as they got, so we'll see if the curse continues in a couple of weeks.
I really got to hope that Sonic's re-signing Grixer is not about to be their Achilles heel. We'll see how the LCQ goes coming up next week. But we're not totally done with our day yet. Number 1 seed from North America is about to be decided, who walks away with even more guts, glory, and the crown of North America Stage 1 champion between Beast Coast and M80 coming up next.